talk about dive comp a little bit. Because that's something, why? Why are we going to discuss dive comp? One, we have to. Two, it's part of the game. Even if they do change characters, like if heroes get changed, I think it's always going to be a strategy within the game. And three, it's just like, you have to know it. At a certain point, you got to stop bitching. Actually, you shouldn't even start bitching. You should always just adapt. So, get the fuck over it. It's going to be a part. Let's do our best to study it and understand it and why it works and why it doesn't work. That being I haven't done a pro review in like 2 or 3 months. And dive is kind of boring to review. Yeah, that's all I gotta say about that. It's tough. It's tough to review. A lot of it comes down to like usually who's the more skilled tracer. Yeah, I would say that's about right. We see it it's too few heroes, stuff like that. It's not that enjoyable. Yeah. So, a while ago, I don't know if how many people were here for it, but we discussed Luminosity versus Renegades, and this was a match way long ago. It's back when Diva was really weak. She wasn't part of the meta, so their dive comp, it was almost dive versus dive, except Diva wasn't a part of it. And we learned a lot from that. We talked about dive comp a bit, and we boiled it down. We're like, there's like 5-6 ways that dive versus dive was working. Yeah. So just to briefly recap something like that, because while it may have been a different time, people were less skilled and the times were a bit different. Yeah. I think it's good to go over some of our notes. And so I just wrote down a couple of things that we realized about that. One was taking advantage of a non-mirrored matchup. So mirrored matchups happens a lot in dive, but also they can not be mirrored matchups. So taking advantage of the one hero off. And because dive comp is usually Tracer, Genji, or not Genji, it's Tracer, Diva, Winston. That's like the 3, I think that's dive comp. The supports can switch up, Lucio and Zen. Sometimes we see a Mercy in there, sometimes we see an Ana in there, even though a big part of the community says Ana's useless against dive. We'll see that's not true tonight. But it's this 4th slot, or the 2nd DPS slot, and that one actually changes a lot. We'll see Sombra, we'll see Soldier, we'll see Genji. Those are the 3 big ones that we'll see. So if you're taking advantage of a mismatch in the lineup, and by mismatch I just want to say like a difference, it's not a mirror matchup. So you want to know like Sombra, Soldier, Genji, what are these 3, like, how do they work? What are the advantages of the dive with them? What do they give to the dive comp? What do they, like, bolster in the composition itself? And so, let's say Sombra. So what does Sombra do? She hurts the dive comp. Well, I'd say it hurts the most, which is the abilities. Dive comp is heavily reliant on abilities. Taking that away really hampers their mobility, and that's what dive comp's all about. Also, when dive versus dive happens, usually you are killing each other's supports. It's kind of a known thing that you kind of just like, I know I'm going to lose my supports, so you're just like, you look back and you're like, hey, supports, hope you're alive when I get back. And you kind of just dive on them and they dive on your supports. And then from there, they go and at each other. When the supports die and then there's just health packs left, the team with the Sombra advantage will have a huge leg up, and this is very map dependent. So we saw Eichenwald. That was an incredibly good Sombra map. Why? Because there's small health packs everywhere in that fucking map. If you can hack 2 or 3 of them, you give your team a huge advantage after the dive happens. EMP, obviously, if you can EMP them, very quick to get ult, and you hack everyone. And again, they're usually ability-based, mobility-based, so you take that away from him. And then Soldier, we see him in the composition a lot, and just because he's a powerhouse. Good DPS at range, He can sit back with the supports while still supporting the dive comp, and he can heal the supports in case the dive comp gets dove on. Because Bionic Field, or whatever you want to call it, is very good against like Winston, because I think it nearly negates his damage. It doesn't negate it completely, but I think Winston does 60 a second, and I think healing is 40 a second. So it definitely helps for a little bit. It buys your backlines time to get things done. Yeah, and also if dive comp does make a mistake, he can punish him with his superior range. Because at the end of the day, dive comp, if you're not using abilities, the weakness of a lot of these characters are range. It's just that they have mobility to negate the disadvantage of their range. So D.Va, her guns don't work after like 5-10 meters. They pretty much do nothing. Tracer, again, a little bit longer range, maybe 10-15 meters. And then they do nothing. Winston has like a hard cap at, I forget what it is. I think it's 5 meters or something. Their mobility allows them to get the damage done constantly, but if they're not using abilities, then they are at a huge... that's where it hurts them. So with this severe lack of range on their weapons, we will see that Soldier has a fun time against everyone when they're just kind of like floundering around. So if you do get hacks off, Soldier's probably going to be out of range and he's going to be doing damage. And then Genji. Genji's he'll pop in. So Genji has really good mobility. He can sit with the dive comp when it's diving. He does lack a little bit of damage at range, but close up he's incredibly good with burst damage. His ultimate is insane. I think it's the most consistent skill in the game, which makes it very strong. Yeah, incredibly strong. His ult also goes through shields and defensive matrix, which kind of puts him at an advantage. And he can usually hang with dive. He has a quick enough mobility to sit with dive, and that's pretty strong. Soldier has to run around with dive, and he lacks the vertical mobility, so he's not always with them. But yeah, and then Sombra can keep up with them, but she's rough on a head-on-head fight. She has, I don't want to say she's the best 1v1 fighter. So those are just quickly going over the 3 heroes that we'll see on the second DPS slot that usually will switch up. I believe we see Soldier, we see Genji, and we see Sombra tonight. What we're going to go over. So we'll see all these guys. As supports, we'll see all supports. We will see Mercy, we will see Lucio, we will see Zen, and we will see Ana. Even though Ana seems very weak in this meta, she does have a large advantage in pretty much one situation. So that's so that covers what dive comp and its compositions a little bit. Now, just dive comp alone, D.Va, Winston, Tracer. What is the biggest advantage of dive comp? And I kind of broke it down as one, just very, very easy mobility, right? Mobility is probably the strongest thing in the game outside of information gathering. But mobility will lead to more information gathering because you can go out, you get some information, come back, and you can always keep pressure on them, so they can't lie to you, right? If my hand's doing all this and I don't know what the fuck it's doing, it can lie to me. But if I have someone like on it actually seeing it, whatever this hand does, I'm going to know exactly what it's doing because I have something out giving me information up to date on it. Mobility helps there. Mobility also allows you to pick your battles. So that's a very big advantage. Essentially, it's initiation. It allows them to initiate where they want and how they want, which is a very important thing. If the fight's not going to go their way, then they can just move, or they can wait, or they can do something else, or they can move to like a different position to attack from there. They have no mobility advantage, so they can pick when and where to fight. A little less. You do a little bit less on defense like that, but you can still do it. You can still pick your fights. What else do I got? Low cooldowns and ability. That's probably one of the thing that makes dive comp possible. Because if you dive on, you get 1 kill. At that point, it's like 5-6 seconds, and you can dive on someone else and kill them again. If the cooldowns weren't so quick, I don't know if dive would work that well. It could still dive initially, but I don't know how it would be on the follow-up. And it's like hypothetically. If their cooldowns were longer, like, how much would that change? And I think it would change it a lot. So they got low cooldowns, which makes here's the thing about mobility. They get back from spawn quicker. They get to mid quicker, especially in King of the Hills. Yeah, they can navigate and negotiate the terrain really strong. Right, vertically, Tracer a little bit less vertically, but that's still fine. She has great mobility. With that, after that, they have. I would consider the damage that they do is, as far as other comps are concerned, really strong. It's still, people think they don't do that much damage, but they do. Winston, the thing about his damage is that it's consistent. You can't block it, you can't shield it, you can't defense matrix it. It's low damage, but it's AoE and it's 100% it's going to happen, which is very good. You need something to finish off players with. D.Va, good damage up close, obviously, but no reload time. So she's constantly on you. Same thing with Tracer and same thing with Winston with the reload times. Tracer and Winston have, I believe Tracer's a second and Winston's a second and a half. So they have constantly putting pressure on you, low cooldowns, low reload times, high burst damage, close up, just over and over and over. This is all just make 10 times worse dependent on if they have a Zen or not. If they have a Zen in the lineup, watch the fuck out, because dive will burst the hell out of you. They will take someone down near instantly if everything lands. Also, with their mobility, they can do the damage from unseen angles. So if you're defending from one static position, let's just say make up someone's, for some reason in a pro scene, they're doing the Reinhardt, Bastion, Mercy, they're all just like behind a shield. You can easily outmaneuver them with your mobility advantage and then attack from where you need to, doing superior damage. The other thing with that is that dive comp has heavy on survivability. So in most games when you balance them, mobility is a version of survivability. That's what we see about Tracer. Tracer has very high survivability because she's so mobile. She's hard to get a hold of if you do. She has recall, very defensive ability. She can get away, get healed up, get back out of there. But while dive has mobility, they also have survivability. So they have recall, they have Winston bubble, and then they have defensive matrix. On top of that, Winston and D.Va have a huge health pool. So the composition is naturally tanky, on top of the mobility that they have to make them even tankier. And defensive abilities with that as well. Dive comp does have a really good ability to survive. Once they start getting the number lead, like it's actually starting to, it's difficult to take them out because all of them have some way to deal with you. And they draw out the fight, and what that does is it allows them to pick each one to fight next. So they'll jump on one person, they'll kill them, and then they're like, all right, we can survive long enough to take out the next person, next weak target, and after that, after like 2 or 3 kills, it's pretty much done and over. Also, with dive comps, yeah, survivability. I call it ease of execution, and I don't want it to sound very, I don't want to sound condescending, but both at a tactical level and a hero level, it's easier to pull off. It does require some coordination, but look at their defensive abilities. Recall, bubble, and defensive matrix. Very easy abilities to use. Quite easy. Their movement abilities are very easy as well. Nothing really stops D.Va when she's moving, when she has the thrusters on. I think only a stun or hook can stop her. And ultimates. Same thing with Winston. And then Tracer is very difficult to stop. Obviously, you have to hit her, right? All these things are just easier to do than most other classes. They have large health pools, and right, D.Va doesn't reload. Winston doesn't really have an accuracy stat. Ease of execution means they make less mistakes. And since when you're playing at the highest level, or let's say the professionals are playing at the highest level, what it comes down to during that day is who made less mistakes. And dive comp is almost always going to be making less mistakes. It also, they have more chances to make, like, if you do make a whole bunch of mistakes, what does it cost you? Time. It's time invested. Dive comp, there's very little setup. There's very little anything. Very little time to go from spawn room to the front of combat again for you to attack again. So you can get more attacks with dive in a row. Again, that kind of falls on ease of execution. And those are like the 3 or 4 things that I think of with dive comp whenever I go through all of them. But those are the advantages. What are the disadvantages? Usually people don't talk about disadvantages much with dive comp. They will just sit around, they're like, yeah, it's dive comp. You just gotta trade supports and you fight. Like, hope your tracer's better than your tracer. But I think there are some key disadvantages, and since we've listed the advantages, usually the disadvantages are based upon that. So one, they are insanely reliant on abilities. This is why Sombra's so good. All of their movement abilities are abilities, right? It's not like the class is naturally faster than everyone else. They have to get their abilities off to do anything. So that's where Sombra comes in. She can really damage that. Also, if their abilities are off cooldown and they make a mistake, usually you can capitalize on it within 5 seconds. I know it seems like a short cooldown time, but at least it gives you some window of when they fuck up, you can do it. But it is a very small window. Also, with dive comp, parts are weaker than the whole. What I mean is, if all of dive is working together, it's very strong. But if they miscoordinate for whatever reason, and you start picking off little pieces of it, the composition becomes significantly weaker. Like, let's say 222. 222 is very versatile, and usually, if you take out 1 or 2 of any of the classes, it can still survive. Like, if you just kill 1 DPSer, well, they still got most things going on. They still got more tanks, some more supports, and the other DPS can, still cover for the one guy. Dive comp, if you take out one of the divers, then the composition gets significantly weaker because they can't burst a target down, which is also their third disadvantage. They're weak to burst healing. Even though people say Ana sucks in the meta, we will actually see it tonight where burst healing will save and ruin a push. Because they want to jump on someone, they want to jump on one person and kill them. And if you keep that person alive, all of a sudden, you have all your abilities up and they have nothing up, and you can turn on them. And again, you can kill someone pretty easily, and then get the advantage from there. They're also limited use indoors. They're good on outdoor maps, or just high ceiling maps. As soon as you start getting lower ceiling and like very, very small buildings, they have a hard time jumping into that. They have to get through that choke point. It gets a little bit rough. Like, they have defensive matrix to get through a choke point. If you have something that gets through defensive matrix, or if you have something like you're just putting so much fire on the point that they can't get through in 2 to 3 seconds, you can keep them. Keep them busy, that is. Also, the last one, which is just fucking known, is supports are vulnerable. Right, they take their whole team. Well, they take half their team and they go here, right away, and they just got their support sitting back there, and you're like, well, that's what most of the people go for, right? They switch supports. They see who gets the. It comes down to whose supports have better self-defense. Because you'll see if dive comp dives, and then the dive, like, they don't. They just kind of dive on themselves. You'll see being on the back foot of that technique really puts them at a disadvantage. Because the supports can actively support the back lines, and they use their abilities to do damage and fight where they wanted to. Yeah, I think that's decent. I mean, I'm sure there's more things that dive comp is good at or bad at, but this is just to get a general feel. Like, as we explore dive comp more and more and more, we will see these things come out. I'm not going to say I have all the answers, but these are what I see after watching, Overwatch for a couple months. Yeah. So, with that, I know we're doing a lot of talking. When we did our Luminosity vs. Renegade review, we saw, I think, 5. Let me look. 5 main ways dive comp does something. And that's 1, take advantage of whatever your non-mirror composition is. So we kind of talked about that. 2, when Dovan, you can rotate all 6. So if they take 4 people and they dive on you, you rotate the entire team as they go in. And as you stay as 6, you can kill their supports and then take essentially a 4v6. 3, you bluff. As you go to dive on their composition, they'll dive on you, and then you counter dive on themselves. And you try to take a very quick 6v4 while while their supports are while their backlines are still trying to get to the front lines and keep up. You try to just take advantage of the numbers immediately. 4, you can rotate less, so dive with less, but you can bridge it with ultimates. This doesn't happen on the first or second push, depending on how your skills build up, how much, if you won the first push or not. But remember, ultimates can be substitutes for numbers. So if you dive with just a Tracer and a Winston, if they have ultimates, you can get away with a lot more, and you can risk a lot less because you're diving with less and you're keeping your team as a whole. 5 is it is a strategy, whether people like it or not, is don't do anything. So you just let the dive happen. It's dangerous because they're doing exactly what they want, which is pick who they want to dive on and dive on you. And 6, when applicable, the backlines can retreat. So we'll see this a lot with Soldier tonight. Essentially, the dive comp goes to dive on the backlines, and your backlines just pieces out. Usually this isn't applicable on like King of the Hill. I mean, it kind of can be used, but we'll see it more during payloads, like strictly attack versus defense maps. This is good on, and it's usually the defense that does it, not the offense. But just quickly going down all those, this is like what I just went over is kind of that's dive comp as far as I'm concerned. I'm not saying I'm correct, but you know, if I am wrong, then hey, we'll learn it in time. We'll see what's going on. As the meta evolves, things will change. But those things that I just said are pretty spot on.
Timing's overrated.
Sorry about talking so much, but are there any questions? And I kind of do want this to be like interaction. I don't want this to be yelling at you guys. I want you guys to say something back to me. I don't know, coach a pro team. No one really wants me because they just see me as a one trick. They think I don't know anything.
Timing's overrated.
Why do pros run counter dive instead of a really tight death ball? The death ball would give them a chance at dive target, right? Why can't you death ball against dive? Because of the defensive abilities of dive. So D.Va's very absolute, right, with defensive matrix. What's going to happen is, if you try to delete one of their characters, D.Va's going to defensive matrix whoever you're focusing. And it's going to buy them time. Winston is going to do, essentially, uncounterable damage. As you do that, the dive comp, if you're doing death ball, the problem with death ball is it's usually not that mobile. Or at least mobility is on dive comp's side. They're going to be more mobile than you. So if you're just a static death ball, and you see this coming on and attacking you, for the first 3-4 seconds, D.Va can shut down whatever your burst is going to do. While that's happening, you're going to have to watch your flanks, because a Tracer Genji or a Tracer Sombra or something is going to find one of your 200 hit point targets and kill them. They're going to kill one of your squishies. That's what it's going to come down to. Also, the backlines as a support, if you're just deathballing over here, these backlines they're just free to do whatever they want. Yeah, you're putting no pressure onto the backlines, and you're just hoping you can burst down the 2 hardest targets to burst down in the game, Winston or D.Va. It's difficult. When Doomfist comes out, he will be someone who kind of maybe can do that, right? If he punches D.Va into the wall or Winston into a wall, there's nothing they can do to stop that. It's going to do, what, 300 damage, I think it is? If they get hit by the fist and then they hit into the wall. And then he follows up with more damage, right? So maybe with Doomfist, maybe dive will get bursted down. The problem is what if they run a Doomfist in the future then? And maybe your Doomfist gets Doomfisted, right? We'll have to see when Doomfist comes out because it's all just theory right now. But it's rough. Death Ball, you think it works against dive comp, but it's the absolute nature of defensive matrix, and you have to do what you need to do in 5 seconds. That's it. That's all you got. You got 5 seconds. If it's not looking good for dive, they're just gonna jump out. No problem.
Timing's overrated.
What is the worst thing about dive meta? What do you mean about that? Why don't I prove my skill? Because I don't care if I have to prove my skill to people. But when you get older, guys, you'll start understanding it doesn't matter what I don't care if you believe me or not. Like, I know what I know. Right? So, people's faith in me doesn't affect me at all.
Timing's overrated.
Honestly, I find it a joke. So that's why I don't give a fuck. Which comp is more boring to analyze, dive or triple tank? I think dive is really boring to look at. So dive comp...
Timing's overrated.
Dive comp, I think there's less tactical uses, and it just kind of happens. And it does come down to... a lot of it comes down to the tracer. The more and more I watch dive comp, the more and more the better tracer's going to start whooping ass. Yeah. I find dive comp very boring.
Timing's overrated.
What do I think defense heroes can do against dive? All defense heroes are a little bit too slow against dive. That's the problem. Defense heroes require a little bit more time to get going.
Timing's overrated.
And they just need more of anything. They either need more quickness, they need more damage. It just nothing they do can be done right away. Defense heroes, again, too slow.
Timing's overrated.
In the fight as a support, are you just kind of fucked? No. Well...
Timing's overrated.
Yeah. Supports are in a bad spot with dive. Now, they all have some type of self-defense.
Timing's overrated.
The one that's the roughest, I would say, is Zen. What is Zen's self-defense is that you die quickly. They hope to kill you quick. Lucio can run, right? Lucio can kind of keep up with dive comp. Mercy can definitely keep up with dive comp. Ana, she has sleep by the bio grenade. It's incredibly strong. But Zen's in this spot where he's just like, well, like,
Timing's overrated.
You can dive me, Winston, and we're just gonna see who dies first. Usually the Zen, especially Zen gets. We'll see a game on Route 66 tonight where Zen, like, I felt bad. I felt really bad for the guy. He just gets wrecked constantly. Yeah, there's 2 subs. Petey Ray for 6 months. There's finally a master tier next to my name and something. Keep up the great work. You deserve it all. Thank you. And E4 Grimsley with the resubscribe for 2 months. Can I explain why I don't think Mei is effective against dive? Too slow. Mei requires 3 seconds to freeze you. In that 3 seconds, they probably kill someone. Also, playing Mei, it's not that she's bad, it's that it also skews your strategy. If you put a Mei in your lineup, you're gonna have to death ball, right?
Timing's overrated.
She has low mobility, so you can't dive yourself. So your dive comp gets thrown out the window. Yeah, it's just like you're forced into a very specific strategy with any off-meta pick. So why doesn't Junkrat, why doesn't Sombra, or not Sombra, Mei, why don't these other heroes work? Like Symmetra. It's just your strategy whenever you pick these players are very skewed. Right? They're more or less, I don't want to call them niche picks, but they are. And the problem with the niche pick hero is that they have they're not versatile. So you have a smaller subset of strategies and tactics you can use. You're really hindering yourself. Dive comp, mobility allows you to do whatever the fuck you want. Mobility is, I said it all the time, guys. Logistics is the most important thing behind information. And even then, logistics can still If some, I can. In fact, they could have widow hacks, and dive comp won't care. Like I'm going to jump on you. Even having information, speed will trump that at times. Dives. Don't ever dismiss speed.
My genius is finally recognized.
Speed's really important. So if you're Stork, if you know you're going to be facing a classic dive comp, and let's just say the most cooperative team ever. How do you defend it? That's why we're going to watch the pro matches. We're going to say, as far as we're concerned, this is the highest tier because this is for this game itself. Whoever wins this game goes to the grand finals. Whoever doesn't goes for I think the second, third fight. Right? I think that's how it worked.
Timing's overrated.
Yeah. So so we're down to like the last 3 or 4 teams with Apex. I think the championship is next weekend. Yeah, it's the 22nd. So this is, as far as I'm concerned, one of the highest. The team. What I'm trying to say is the team is skilled and they have cooperation, right? So instead of us theory crafting, let's just see what they do, right? Spoiler: they just run dive comp. I have top-down views of a lot of maps. No, I only have top-down views of 3 or 4 maps.
Timing's overrated.
You think Arisa will be meta? Not yet. Questions before we get going. Check.
Timing's overrated.
Nope. So let's get into the review then. Oh, do I have? Oh, hold on.
Timing's overrated.
After lunch. Go back to my face. That way I can open up stuff. There it is.
Timing's overrated.
Ooh, yep. All right. Go back. So, got my annotation software. So here's the game: Kongdoo versus Envyus.
Timing's overrated.
This is it says right here the semifinal. Match 2. I don't know what match 2 means. The second semifinal match. So let's go over this stuff.
Timing's overrated.
You know what? Hold on. We're gonna look at my face for a little bit.
Timing's overrated.
I think what is
Timing's overrated.
hold on. I just want to I want to fix up one thing on the stream.
Timing's overrated. Timing's overrated. Timing's overrated.
Hold on. Sorry about this. I just want to change the notification.
Timing's overrated.
We're getting a lot of follows right now, and that is strange. But also, it's just noisy.
Timing's overrated.
Is that? I apologize.
Timing's overrated.
There it is.
Timing's overrated. I means overrated.
Alright, so that'll be a little bit different. So let's go back. Here we go. So, yep, let's look at this. Kongdoo versus Envyus. Semi-final match. I got the Korean version. Honestly, I love the Korean commentators. Significantly better than the American ones. Why? Because they make awesome sounds. And so, for the first match, we're doing Oasis. They are running Pharah Mercy, and then Tracer, Winston, D.Va. Tracer, Winston, D.Va, like I said, this is core to dive comp. Lucio, I would say Lucio is a... I've seen every composition with dive comp, but I think Lucio is probably one of the key ones as well as a support. So they kind of got two characters to mess with. If you go Mercy, you usually have a Pharah with it. If you have a Zenyatta, then you'll probably be switching to a more classic dive comper. This team, Pharah wins, or Tracer, Winston, D.Va. They got the Lucio, and then they're going Zen Soldier. Which you're like, hey, Zen Soldier, that should destroy Pharah comp. So let's see how well this fares against them. Pharah has a lot of vertical cover here, and it allows for shit like this. So that's huge, right? They get an insta-pick. And this is just going to lead to a reset. Immediately. So that one pick, this is one thing you should know about most highly competitive games. If you get one pick, usually the fight is yours. Unless you're in skirmishing already, but if the teams, like, if one team's over here, and one team's over here, and for whatever reason, someone on one team's dead, so before the engagement they lose one, usually the team has a significant advantage. Just like that previous fight. Now with them set up on the point, now Pharah has a very, very strong vertical presence. Because there's vertical cover in this map, specifically Oasis this round, then she has a lot of wiggle room. And this is when Pharah is the strongest. So if I can just draw, like, fuck it. Like, here's an opening. This is like a side view. So here's a choke point. Like, this is the doorway when they come out. When Pharah's up here and can get a rocket, like, right down here while people can hardly get through. This is Pharah's best ability. So, like, right here. Go back a couple more seconds. So, stuff like this. That's good. But right here, like, this stuff is where she's incredibly strong. Very little you can do to hit her, and she gets maximum hits off. But with the vertical cover, you'll see what Pharah gets done. So Pharah, if she hits her shots, gets ult really quick, and just shut down the entire enemy team. Doesn't matter that she died. She's going to get back to combat before the other team kind of gets to do their thing. So just picking off 3 people there, instant win for the team. Eva's out of the mech, so what does she have to do? Yeah, she has to go kill herself. So we had a little bit of a fight of an indoor thing, and then Tracer gets a good ult off, but Mercy bails her out. They're indoors, so Pharah has she's easy to hit. She has can't fly away as far, but the ult essentially bought them time to get a couple picks, and as we see, the couple picks pay off, and they essentially defend again. So nothing very noticeable there. They took an indoor fight, which would favor the non-Pharah team, and it did, but the Mercy Res kind of bailed them out. This is really, really good. So, whenever you're attacking into a point, I think this is when Lucio is best used to use his ult. So, the entire team's back here, but they want to get on point. Or they want to get on point up here. The problem is in Overwatch, you need to punish people if they have to cover distance. So while a team's trying to get to the point, that is when they're weakest. They're not weak when they're just chilling up here, right? Because they're going to be in formation, they're going to be doing stuff. They're not weak there. But as soon as they have to rush into the point, that's when they're going to be weak. That's the best time to use Lucio ult like this. Because now they can bridge that distance, they can get to where they need to, and they get some damage done. But Winston and Pharah both smack the soldier away, and he gets very little with his ult. If he could have gotten anything with it, the Kongdoo also Lucio ulted as well. So nothing was gained at either side. They're unable, they get a Winston pick. Again, Mercy kind of bails them out. They burn a second defensive ult because the first defensive ult didn't get what they wanted. Also, Lucio, the Zen's pressured. So we'll see the Winston just staying on Zen. So now that they're on the point and they're finally fighting, they had to burn 2 defensive ults instead of 1, which is obviously it's not advantageous, but they had to do that to get in. Pharah finds a couple people out of position, and this is something that's not discussed enough. The greatest advantage, besides Pharah's really good when shooting angled through a choke point, but her ultimate does damage instantly. It is one of 2 ults in the entire game of Overwatch that does damage right fucking now. And like this right here, I think she could already do about 400 damage. So, she gets bubbled after she gets a pick. But right now we see it's a 3v3 about. Getting closer. People are getting back to point, and it's kind of a stall right now. It looks like it's D-Mech, D.Va, and Lucio against the Winston. Winston ults to save time. As he's chasing, guess what happens? The point is forgotten about. This happens, right? Even professional teams make mistakes. But the funny part is you can see the Winston right here. He essentially scares the 2 people off the point. Right? So there's a D.Va, there's a Lucio. That's a D.Va, right? No, it wasn't a D.Va. I don't know who that was. But they forgot about the point. And this is one of those times that sound is really important. So even though Envyus is probably talking to themselves, and they're like, hey, I'm on point, I'm on point. You know, you can get off point. The supports, the Lucio and the other 210 point hero over there, they should have heard or at least seen this happen, and they're like, shit, he's going to be off point. I need to be on point. I would actually chalk this up to not bad communication, but too much communication. People said what they were going to do, and they didn't do it for a couple seconds. Instead of listening to the data they were getting through sight and sound of what was actually happening, they were listening to what was happening in comms, which comms is slow and can be false. So, that happens. Gonna skip ahead. And here we go. Second, what is this? University. We see Tracer, D.Va, Winston. Tracer, D.Va, Winston. Lucio. This is what we're going to be seeing for basically the entire game. But Kongdoo is running Sombra. They also got a mid-range soldier. They're doing soldier, and instead of a second support, they're doing Or, I mean, sorry, instead of a second support, these guys are running Sombra. These guys are running the traditional Zen. So the thing is running one support and running Sombra, it shows your hand. It doesn't limit your strategy, but it shows your hand. Now, they don't know this yet. But in the future, they know. They're like, all right, well, they're going to have to kill... They're going to have to focus health packs. So Kongdoo does this really interesting tactic. They sit everyone down here with the hacked health pack. And I was like, all right, that's like a cute strategy. The problem is she has vertical mobility, vertical mobility, vertical mobility, no vertical mobility. He has some vertical mobility, but not in this, right? I don't think it's gonna take. I think it's gonna take Lucio a bit to jump out of this one. There's a pillar right here. I think he can get on that and finally get his way up here, but it's gonna take some time. And Tracer, no vertical mobility. So at first, I think this is cute, right? They're getting damage done. They're getting the health pack. All right, they're building Sombra ult, but Lucio attacks. And Lucio dies. So they did jump out of the hole. Now here's the Sombra. Essentially, their attack just came in waves, and there's the soldier. So, right, you can't hide from Sombra. They get an EMP off. Perfect. This is what they wanted, but everything's a little bit too late. Do you see how they're like... this entire attack was about 2 seconds off. It was a cool strategy, but it came together in pieces. So they're going to back out. But when I say pieces, so they had 4... I actually think they had 5 down here. And the Lucio attacked first. And he was 1 second off. And then people jumped out of the hole. And then 1 second later, then the Sombra came out. Actually, this is actually like 2 or 3 seconds late. Early, I should say, the Lucio. It was fractured. I would still consider this a dive, and they did try to dive from low ground to high ground, but they did it in a fractured way. So, as I said before, the weak pieces, or dive comp is weaker in parts than it is together. And so they attacked him as a part. Looks like they didn't... Echo Cave says he looks like they didn't practice much. No, this is just fucking difficult. Guys, attacking a point at the exact same time from 3 different ways is actually a lot more difficult than you think it is. But they got the Sombra again, hacked health packs. So they're just doing some pokes right now. No big deal. So we see, we're going to be seeing this a lot. Kongdoo is going for the health pack room. For a very specific reason, they have a Sombra. Right now it's not hacked, but you're going to see this is going to be a point of attack a lot often. Quite often. What I think they're doing is they're just kind of... Like I said, dive comp doesn't work very well indoors. So the dive comp can dive essentially to the door, and then they kind of run into problems. So they're just trying to limit the range on dive. Right, so people can't dive directly on them. Before this, the fact that this Sombra and Tracer, it looked like, or it was Sombra and Soldier that soloed the mech, this is huge. Once that happens, a lot more abilities can be used. So if they wanted to use their own ultimates here, like Soldier, like Tracer, now there's no chance of defensive matrix. But as we see in this perfectly stopped point, it doesn't matter what side of the wall you're on right now. Everyone's about to get hit by EMP. This was incredibly good EMP right here. Zen dies instantly. Here comes that Soldier ult. I said once Diva died, Soldier can now ult freely. So that was very, very, very well executed. They took out the key target, and then with Sombra ult, they pushed in. So we see the health pack is now hacked. So they're holding this room pretty good, which they should. Tracer ult baits out. It doesn't really bait out, but in the back lines, it's very difficult to see this. Soldier kills soldier, and you can see the attack lines of the soldier right there. So somehow the soldier got picked off crossfield. Huge advantage right now. It's a very big range advantage. But when you're down to DPS, even with the Lucio ult, they're down a significant chunk of their damage. Without any EMPs or anything to limit the dive comp, Sombra is kind of mitigated, right? Sombra she can fight head to head, but not very well. So with the extra DPS, they essentially take the point, right? They just bully on point. There's some tactical stuff going on here, but they're just killing what they can, push them out, get the point. Incredibly important pick. I mean, that was like a cross map pick by that soldier. And now I haven't gone over this in a while, but the advantages of defense is that one, usually on defense, the attackers have to come through a choke point. So there's one choke point here, there's one choke point there. Even going to mid, there's like the choke point right here, and then there's a small room, and coming up here, there's a choke point right here, right? There's the two like kind of windowish choke points going up top. The inherent advantage of defense is that you get to set up your team however you see fit. Meaning, I'm going to put my tanks up here. I'm going to put my soldier back here. My tracer's going to be over here. And I'm going to put, like, a support here. And maybe, like, let's say, fuck it. For whatever reason, I got a support up there. But you have the ability to set up your formation however you want. And it is up to the offense to come in this way and look at your setup and attack it however they see fit, right? This formational advantage is not discussed enough in Overwatch, but it is one of the single most defining factors of defense. Well, I gotta blow my nose real quick. Sorry about that. Yeah, so it's incredibly important being able to attack the way you want to. Or not the way you want to, defend the way you want to. The offense is subjected to your formation. And I say that because look how they're all just tight here, and as you can see, there's a tracer ult going off. But they got defense has two guys over here, some guys over here, and they got the tracer up here. And they're allowed to do that because they're on defense. But the tracer ult actually doesn't get anything. And the diva hits the health back on the bottom. So this happens very quickly. So as this is happening, Lucio defensive ult. In fact, it only gets supports because there's a tracer on them. So that ult happens, and then as we can see here, watch this. Remember how I said defense can retreat? This is a defense by retreating. All these guys attacked on them, and then the defense backed up to survive, and now they're splitting up the dive comp into parts. Right? They got some players up here, they got some players up here, and this, again, remember, dive comp is weaker apart than it is whole. Same could be true for the other team, but this team is a lot more closely together, right? They have two supports and the long-range DPS. The other ones is the two tanks and this other support. So with that, they actually defend the point. It's actually a very good defense. Lucio ult was forced because of the trace. See, there's the Lucio ult. But these three guys, they just stay back here. They kind of fight their own fight, and then the three up here, because these are the 4 to dive, right? And I say, remember, survivability, mobility, survivability, right? Mobility through survivability. So if I'm posting up with the 3 main parts of dive that have a very high chance of surviving, and I put the weak parts of dive together in the back, and if they retreat together, it makes it a lot stronger. Because right now, Kongdoo under attack is essentially fractured. The Tracer was over here, she gets killed, and the Winston is over here. And I don't gotta worry about him much if I'm Envyus, right? Envyus, I'm like, alright, Tracer, Winston, Diva, they can survive on their own a lot better than my other parts can. And they do. It's actually very, 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 very well done. So, they have the touch point, which they do. And now your hand is forced. Tracer's forced on point, Winston's forced on point. So there is focus fire. That was all 6 people attacking a Winston. And it still took time. I think it should be noted how much... It was a 6v1, and look, with Zen Orb, and look how long this took. People think that's fast, but that actually took a significant amount of time for having 6 people attack you with Zen Orb. So Soldier Ult comes out, he has some up problems, he can't jump. But Diva puts a good ult up and over. That ult right there is what puts him in a very, very nice place. Along with the Sombra EMP. So, we can see, again, Sombra, 90%. They hold this health pack side still because of the Sombra advantage. And that's where they're in, right there's the ult. So very, very good point on their side. I think at this point they know... I mean, it's pretty obvious when you have a Sombra that you're going to favor the health pack side room. But this health pack side room is paying dividends for him. So now, we talked about this a lot. We're like, look, they're holding the health pack room, holding the health pack room, holding the health pack room. Envyus isn't dumb. They're going to go, oh, they're holding the health pack room. Right? And here it is. I mean, they're really holding it. So, they attack. Dive Comp gets in there. Look, Envyus is throwing everything they got into this room. And what does Kongdoo do? Their Tracer goes, oh, I'm just giving it up then. Right there, you saw all of Kongdoo run out of there, and now, without a health pack, the entire team of Envyus is trapped. Also, I don't know if anyone heard that. This guy gets so excited. Bang! Bang, bang! Oh, I love you, Korean casters. So, this is cool. This is cool. So, we always talk about how tension is bad, right? I don't need to show the video of how to catch a monkey, but tension is bad, right? So, for those that don't know about how to catch a monkey, this guy puts, in Africa, they drill a hole into this little cave thing inside a rock. And so they put food in the hole, like they'll show the monkey, they're like, hey, there's some food, it's in this hole. And the monkey reaches his hand in, and he's so focused on the food that when he closes his hand to grab the food, he can't get his hand out of the hole because the hole's too small. His hand can fit in the hole this way, but it can't out. So we always talk about tension. And we're saying, like, don't be so tense. Don't hit someone once and you're like, this happens with low-level fair. This happens with low-level everything. Don't hit someone once and be like, I hit them once, I have to finish them. They're at 25 health, I have to kill them. Like, I have to kill them. And you just, like, dive so fucking far and then you die. And you're like, where the fuck's my team? I almost had him. It was so close. No. See, basically, you're holding on to the stick so hard that, like, I can physically manipulate it, right? I can easily manipulate this entire arm because of the tension here. So we always talk about tension in the negative aspect. Is there a good time for tension? And I've always told you this over and over and over. Tension's bad, but does anyone have an idea when tension is good? Anyone in chat? Anyone have guesses? Actually, I can actually show you this one. Hold on. Throw out some guesses. Hold on. I need some water too. So when is tension good? Cause a stagger. You have an escape plan. You're thinking too literally. There she is. Tension. Here we go. Oh, you can see it on. Come on, focus. Focus! Right there. See how it's tension? Right? This string is taut. Tension. They call it plucking. To pluck. Think of pulling a fruit off of a tree branch, right? That right there, this rebound, that's tension. So yeah, just like the strings on a violin, right there. You can see, like I'm making this string even taunter than it is, and then pluck. So that is a good version of tension. It's something you can abuse. Now in Overwatch, it's not physically bound, right? Like, you can't just, like, run up against the wall and then, like, slingshot around the wall in Overwatch, right? The physics don't allow that. So when we talk about tension in Overwatch, it's all mental. It's psychology. And I do this with Junkrat a lot. Essentially, I hold... Actually, I can take out the violin again. So, what I do psychologically is I hold something with Junkrat, like in a very specific corner, and I go, I want this, right? I make it really taunt. I go, I want this, I want this, I want this. Don't come in here. I want this. And then all of a sudden you come in, I go, hey, guess what? Fuck off, right? And I burst out, and then I'm going to take advantage of the fact that you're still falling into my tension, and while you're falling into my tension, my team can attack you. This is very advanced. This is advanced Overwatch. This is because you're fucking with people's brain. This is how you use tension to your advantage. Is that as someone's falling into something that they perceive as taunt, and it is not. And this is exactly what Kongdoo did here. And in fact, it's almost forced. Yeah, I'll just put this away for now. That's case though. My bow's all fucked up. I'll show you my bow. I haven't played this in a while, and if you don't keep your shit up, if you don't keep things nice, like everything goes to shit, right? I haven't, as you can tell, I haven't used this in a while. But yeah. Also, I think some of the strings are rusted. I should treat her better. So here's tension. And, yes. So this is how you take advantage of tension. And this is when people... It's so funny, because I'll put it in a video. I'll be like, oh, man, I fucked these guys so hard. Like, these guys have no idea how bad I joked on his Junkrat. And they're like, you didn't do anything. And it's like, no. You don't understand what I did. I used tension to my advantage. I forced them in a spot, and I let my team take advantage of it. And everyone goes, your team carried, you did that. I go, no. Like, I set up that entire situation. So when we see this review, this entire time, they're like, first of all, it's super obvious. Envyus goes, man, they keep holding this fucking room. They got the hacked health pack with Sombra in there. This is a huge advantage, and it is a big advantage, but since both parties know about it, it is now a disadvantage to essentially know about it. Also, they kind of have to attack in here, but maybe they committed too much. So here they are building the tension. They're just like, fucking A. Look, like they were shooting at the health pack when no one was on it. Look, they constantly shoot on the health pack. So as they're building the tension, building tension, they just let it go. They're like, actually, guys, we don't give a fuck. This room is actually pretty much useless to you because there's a hacked health pack in it, and it's a small enclosed space. Everyone is outside of this room except for this. The rest of Envyus is in here. The one piece that was sticking out got cut off. Then they get flanked. The next piece that's out gets cut off. This was just very, very well executed by using the advantage of tension. And this was all set up. This was all set up simply by hacking a health pack. That's all it took. That's all it took to make this perceived tension. So this was a big play. This was first of all, it was very ballsy on her to go between everyone while they're fighting. But she's going for the Zen. But she got attacked. I mean, near instantly when she gets hit out. Because of that, the EMP doesn't go off. I don't know how to say how important this was, except for, let's see how important it is. So she tries the hack. She only gets a couple people. I think she actually missed the diva over here, but there's one other person. Everyone else is fighting these one-on-ones on the edges. Which is interesting to think about. You would think you would not want to be grouped up against a, or you don't want to be spread out against a Sombra. Because she has a very easy way of, like, if you don't pay attention, Sombra's advantage is what? Two people are fighting here. Sombra appears here and hacks this guy, and this guy dies. Right? You almost don't want to be fighting one-on-ones when a Sombra's around. So you'd think you'd want to group up, but if you group up, you get EMP'd. What happens here is there's a bunch of like, as this happens, Winston's in the back lines fighting there. You can see a fight happening here. There's a fight happening right here. And there's another fight on this side. This makes EMP really bad. And so what we see up here is Tracer wins her one-on-one. Soldier cheats. Fucking aimbot gets rid of another one. Winston finally dies. And as kills keep happening, dive comp starts diving, right? Don't forget this is a fucking dive comp. As soon as they kill a couple people, your next weak target is getting jumped on immediately. And so this is what happens. I love you, Korean Consters! But that's game. This is funny because we'll go back, what, 10 seconds? Oh, that's a minute. That entire thing that just happened would not have happened if Sombra EMP'd here and got Zen killed. And that wasn't I'm not saying it was a misplay on Sombra's part, but it was a good play on Envyus's part to essentially almost kill Sombra by the time she was in the short time it takes her to decloak, she almost died. This move right here is what saved the point. That was really fucking important. So let's see this one more time. What do we see? Dive comp. But Widow, and we have dive comp. Genji. So Widow. This is a defense hero. Defense heroes skew your strategy heavily. What do I mean by this? What do you mean? What do you mean Widow isn't versatile? Widow makes you use a specific strategy. So we have Widow sitting back. And I don't even care what the other team's doing. Right now, Winston's protecting her. The whole team's protecting her. So, Kongdoo gets 2 picks already. Why? Because they're so busy defending the fucking Widow. Now, even though the Widow's starting to like force pressure on her and she's getting kills, they capture the point. Anyone who's played this map now knows that you can do the runaround on this fucking map for hours. So we have, like right now, I believe, yeah, Envyus has the advantage, right? Fisher's dead at this point in time. We got 4 people on point. The other team has 4 people on point. But the point's being contested. Why? Kongdoo is set up on the other side of mid. This is the big disadvantage of Widow on this map. Is that if someone's on point, like she has to go around. She has to get closer, left or right, because of this middle column. They're just chilling on this side. If she does go all the way this way or this way, rotates, they're going to jump on her and kill her because they are dive comp. So this is kind of a game of cat and mouse with Widow. It's a very dangerous game. If Widow starts getting picks, it's really, really good because then Widow gets up to this point and you're fucked. But until that point, you're going to be okay. So, Widow gets a pick. Tracer gets a pick. Widow dies, but that's not a big deal. This whole time, it's still being contested. So Widow moved up, she died. And now, they're just jumping on each member, right? They started getting a man advantage, they just jump on each target. The problem is, it's dive comp. Meaning, dive comp, heavy mobility, right? They're getting back from spawn a lot faster than they think they are. And what's happening? Fucking Lucio's on the point right now. Fucking Lucio. Guess what? Lucio's dead. Oh, they're gonna capture the point? No, they're not. Now there's a Genji on the point. Fucking Genji. Alright, we got it. No! Tracer's on the point. Alright, we killed Tracer. Alright, we finally get the point. Them being defensive with the Widow for about 5 seconds costed them 53% on the point. But now that they have the point, they have an extreme advantage. So that was a really good. I mean, they were quote unquote staggered, but in control point, it doesn't matter too much if you got the point, right? You're staggering, but you're still getting percentage. Right? It's just using the natural mobility of dive comp. So here's where Widow starts paying dividends. They're all in spawn. Ult advantage, about equal. Well, I would say it's an advantage of Envyus right now, because they got sight. So as they engage, this is also when I tell people to use Junkrat ult, is as the team gets past into the point of no return, here's the point of no return. You probably can't see that too well. Here's the point of no return. You ult into them. Because why? Because at this point, they've committed past the choke point, and they have to do something. So they ult as well. Alts go off every fucking where. It looks like it's going well, but a defensive Lucio alt as so they forced a lot of alts in the choke point. As soon as they got past this alt phase and they finally got to a ground where they need to be, they used their mobility skills to get to here. Then Lucio ults and says, "All right, we're going to be fighting right here, or you're retreating. Right? We're not going to let you do it. We're going to force a fight here." Tracer ult for Winston ult. Whatever. I think it was a good move on the Winston's part because they need to. This is when they need to press their Widow advantage, and they do. So when picks start happening, like this, really sucks. So just using her strong linear lines to Widow's advantage. Here we go. Alright, so, pow. Everything kicks off. What do they do again? They want to fight at mid. They don't want to fight back here. So what do? They bridge this gap. I'm just going a little crazy. They want to fight at mid here. And they want to get past this choke point most specifically. These choke points, they bullied them past. Same thing with this choke point. They will bridge this distance with Lucio ult. If you can bridge any distance with Lucio ult, now, right there, see how everyone's using their mobility? Now that everyone's at midfield, they all use their mobility skills to get even deeper. So, they were running away, and they used their mobility to run away, which is great. But, speed boost ult, and then they can chase them down and then use the same mobility skills they used. You can't get away from it. Like, the Widow had her ult, or her grapple baited out right here. She used her grapple already. Try to get away from the Winston. Can't get away from the Genji. Her abilities aren't on that low of a cooldown. Get a man advantage. Start picking off people one by one. Kill everyone immediately so they can't do the fucking stall. And that's how they get the point. This also forces a switch off of Widow. So they get up to the point. So this is really good. They got 3 points, right? They didn't have to pay much to get from the choke point to here, right? And you can definitely make a team pay for that. But as they pushed out, right? They were let. Here's the thing, they were let in that far. And because they were let in that far, you ever see a screenplay in football? A screenplay is when you got all these guys on the lineman. There's the quarterback. The quarterback falls back. As the offense, or the defense I should say, pushes in, the defensive line doesn't, or the offensive line doesn't stop them. The offensive line actually just runs around them, and they're like, whatever, go after my QB. QB then hits the receiver right here, and then they have the additional blockers like this. This is kind of what this is that you let all this pressure in, and then you attack the back lines, because they're pushing in so far. So that's exactly what happened. Tracer gets her, alright, so this is kind of funny. Tracer gets her ulties in. But you know what's funny part Zen is? Everyone's like, I want to be in Zen ult. I want to be in Zen ult. And it's like, oh shit. No, I don't want to be in Zen ult. Tracer gets a great ult. At a very dangerous time, at 80%, things are starting to get very, very dicey. So, they let them all in, and then they killed them. And this is why I say it's dangerous. You're forced on point. Your next respawn, you have to go as fast as you can to mid, and just get the fuck on point. This is a little bit weird to play. She had her translocator down. I think she didn't expect Tracer to come back and shoot her in the back. But, as people are just trying to run to point, you just kill them. There's not much you can do. It's a very good plan, Kongdoo. But that last victory was. People think the fight won here. This is bullshit. The fight was won here. The fight was won here. They bridged the gap with Lucio ult and speed boost, then used movement abilities to get on top of them, and then they wiped out the team to force. So there's no like stalling out on the point. Like some people would see this Genji ult as unneeded, and in reality, maybe it was. He got a couple kills with it, but his team could have done that, but not as fast. You want to wipe everyone out, get this point, and then start fighting there. So it's like, oh, this is at 55%. That's where it was won, because it forced it forced a specific fight here that they capitalized on, and then from there they can't do shit from here. Right there, after that second fight, they were lost. Just because you're forced on point. Oh wait, it's a change of a map, so it's gonna be a little bit longer. Okay. Oh, this fucking play. Alright, so map 2. The second map. It is Kongdoo with Winston, Tracer, Diva. Winston, Diva, Tracer. Fucking A. Dive comp again. But guess what? Guess what we see? We see Ana's. And people say Ana doesn't work in this meta. We also see Soldier, because Soldier's so fucking good on point 1. And the second support, Kongdoo, is running Sombra. Envyus running Lucio. So Winston's like, hey, what's going on out here? Alright, cool, guys. This is what they're doing. Sombra catches them. Like, she sees where they're at. And is also hacked the health pack. And then they speed boost. Blah, run. Everyone's kind of fighting. Stupid. Yeah, I hate how Dive fights like this. I hate this. Bubbles down on both point, defensive matrix over the top, and then Winston's are just poking at each other. So Tracer dies, but the entire team gets through. This is when I get angry. So the attackers push through, and now they're behind enemy lines. But it's a whole team, it's fine. And also, it actually works for their advantage that Tracer was the one that died. Because now, essentially, Tracer has a free flank this way. While the rest of them can go whatever way. And why does this point piss me off so bad? Look at Kongdoo's response. They're like, where'd they go? Okay, this is another little rant. But if they're actually listening, they would have known where exactly they were. Because you can hear footsteps through walls. This is where I would say sound is an advantage. Even at the professional level, they're not using. The Tracer's looking for someone to spawn camp, which is that's a legit concern. But the rest of the team, what the fuck are they doing? Here's the attacker. This is Envyus. He's attacking. Do you notice no one is here? The Winston comes out this way and he's like, hey, you need help? He's like, oh wait, where the fuck is everyone? Here they are. They're coming out this way. They're coming out of a single choke point, and they're subjected. The defense that was... Remember what I said? One of the more important subjects in Overwatch is the fact that the defense has a formational advantage. The defense gave that up and went through a choke point, which the offense should be doing. And the defense was set up on point, and the offense then had to go, or the defense had to attack, essentially the defensively set up attackers. This is a huge advantage for the attackers right now. They get slaughtered. This is mind-boggling that this point right here, where Soldier sees the Winston, it's like, what the fuck? Like, what the literal fuck? as soon as the team should have dove, and this is my reaction, I would have been like, oh, guess what, guys? We're on defense. They have to get to here. I would have put the soldier here, where we're at right here. I would have put the soldier up here. I probably would have put the diva up here with them. The Winston would have been on point. I would have had actually I would have put the entire team on here because they're going to come out this way. If someone's back here, they have to attack this way, or this way. I would rarely think someone would come this way, but all you have to do is set up on this high ground and you defend all points. Right? They have to go this far of getting shot before getting to point. They get stuck in a choke point before coming out. They get stuck in a choke point before coming out. They get stuck in a choke point before coming out. Kongdoo does none of this. They go, you know what, guys? Let's go out of our own choke point and let's be subjected to them. At this point, when I'm like reviewing it, I'm just like, well, that was dumb. I don't even give a fuck what happens here. I will only give a fuck if I see the defense start winning because they came from such a tactical disadvantage. I would want to see what they did to get rid of like this disadvantage. But it was such an advantage, I was like, well, offense has this point, I don't care really what happens. So, what happens? So this is something I'm trying to teach Team Chro, is that there's space. Do you see this? There's no one up here. Whenever there's space, you need at least a couple people to fill this gap. And make it yours, right? This is space for the taking, and space is how you win Overwatch. So they're staying up a little bit back. That's fine. I would at least like someone up to see what the fuck's going on, right? I want eyes on someone. The Tracer was there. Perfect. So Tracer's over here. This is the eyes and the ears of the team right now. He's like, yeah, no, they're not. They're not here. They're not here. They're not here. Oh shit, they're here, guys. Winston following me. Hey, they're going over this way. Yada yada yada. And so that's good enough information. Winston dies with Nano Boost. Now, what did I say the defense can usually do? Number 6. Number 6, I said. How to defend against dive comp, and that is run. Dive comp dove, but they're running dive comp too, so dive comp just goes fuck off, and they just poke at Winston from range, right? See how they just kind of orbited him, and he couldn't get anything out? So, they used a couple ults trying to get in. And now they're just like, alright, it's now our turn to ult. With the space that Winston tried to create here, they give up all the space. You can see the general feel of everything right here is everyone's running away. Once the Winston gets out, look, Diva runs, Tracer runs. They're giving it up. Their guys fall back, fall back, fall back. We need to group up and re-attack. So as they're falling back, Envyus is still pushing in, taking up space. They have the ult advantage because the Winston didn't get anything. And then Soldier Visor, Nano Visor is so goddamn strong. They get a couple picks, and essentially this allows them the space to take the card even more forward. You could almost see this as a source of tension as well. Like the Winston came in, and it was when the Winston came out, the rebound, the rest of the team followed. So it looks like they got it, but guess what? Sneaky Sombra. Tracer's toast. Tracer's instantly dead. Notice how they get, when they get attacked on, these guys are backing up. So Soldier and them are already backing up now. And now they're doing damage from range. This ult was odd. So that was Envyus using their ult. So Oh no, that was a defensive ult. Sorry, that was Kongdoo's ult. Right? Yeah, that was a defensive ult. Sorry. It's because the both divas are ulting right away. So the defensive ult was a little bit too far. Like, it would have been better just to plop it down right here. Oh no, that was it. Never mind. Okay. That was... I knew... Yeah, that was blue ulting. That was a defensive ult. Sorry, that part gets me fucking a little bit confused. Just because I can't see it. Yeah, it was a rough defensive ult. They kind of needed it on point. It hit nothing back here. But notice how, like I said, once the backlines retreated... Soldier can still do damage from the backline. So this is looking heavily in favor of on the attacker side. But what we see now is that the attacker's Lucio gets picked. Also, whoop, their Zen got picked before this. So if we go back a little bit, sorry, I'm rewinding a lot. So there's the attackers getting a couple picks. Lucio dies. And now they're down on healing. As this happens, Kongdoo does a defensive Lucio ult. And the bleeding from not having healers is just too much. They lost their Zen before the Lucio, then they lost the Lucio, and then they kind of get chipped down. They may have had a... fucking, sorry, it feels so bad for divas like that. But without the supports, they get chipped down. And the Lucio ult, I would say, is needed because one way to stop getting chipped down is just to commit fully on the enemy team and try to kill them.
네, 그래서 콩두 판테라를 만드는 것이 가장 중요합니다. 네, 좋을 거 이제 70% 채웠습니다. 얼마 안 남았어요. 좀만 버티면 됩니다. 한 턴만 비비고 있으면 되는 거예요. 네, 이번 싸움에서 콩고 선수가 원시구도도 있는데다가 타이머 선수가 전술 조종이 또 오고 충분히
So here we see.
상황 자체가 만들어졌습니다.
Watch this.
이번 턴은 굉장히 유리한 타이밍에.
This is why the better tracer usually okay. Fucking Zen gets deleted. It's that quick. So they Envyus pulls the trigger, they go dive Zen. Zen gets blown to smithereens instantly. The response is defend the Zen, defend the Zen, defend the Zen, but dive happens so quick that it's too late. Right? You can't stop Winston's damage. He's going to finish off the hero. The defense used their mobility abilities to get back to the Zen that's dead now. What does this mean? This means everyone is right here. Dive comp. Well, Winston uses mobility. Tracer still has all of her skills. Diva has all of her abilities. And now it's a fight way up here. Allowing the back lines of Envyus to do what they want, right? Because if the dive comp's here, it's not like the back lines of the defense are going to be able to put pressure on the back lines of the offense, right? Too far away. So, the back lines start doing what the back lines do, especially when you have a soldier. That is, shoot people in the face. As you can see, they're bleeding kills. Yeah, as soon as they start bleeding kills, the defense is done. So this was, I believe, number reason 3 of what dive can do against dive is that you dive the dive itself. The problem is dive comp happens so quick. Zen was deleted by the time you did anything, and that's why allowing the attackers. Oh, sorry, wrong Zen. Zen got deleted. That's why the attackers being able to attack when they want, and the strategy of letting them jump on you is really dangerous because you can die so quickly. So, good shot by Soldier. Found the Sombra. So this is checkpoint 1 for point 3. Why do I mean checkpoint 1? Because now this flank reveals itself.
맞아줄지 아니면 초월로
They get the corner for basically free.
네, 코코 선수가 굉장히 공격적으로 또 이펙트 선수가 언제 힐러를 물러올지 모르니까 예,
And then as they push in, the defense is now putting pressure this way. Everyone's retreating this way. And Sombra gets a fantastic ult. I think that was most of the team. At this point, defensive spawns are going to be faster than offensive spawns. Or right here is going to be close. They've already started bleeding a couple kills, and now Dive starts diving and starts cleaning up the rest of them. So their Zens get traded, doesn't matter, defense favored. Right, there's the Diva death. Winston ult's a little excessive, but whatever. And they kind of just fight them back to their spawn. So, key EMP by Sombra. But I think the limited use of health packs on this point caused a switch for Sombra to Soldier.
상대방이 초월 빠지는 것도 확인이 됐고 이제는 아예 솔저로 교체를 해주고 안라인 터뜨리겠다라는 생각으로 지금 라스칼 선수가 솔저로 교체를 했습니다. 그러네요. 네, 확실히 유지력 싸움에서 솔저가 필요하긴 하죠. 잡혔어요. 잡혔습니다.
So here is another attack. It starts off by a soldier getting really good shots because Winston Bubble was looking pretty good there. But he still got him around the bubble. Now Dive Comp starts diving up. This is a wonderful play by Kongdoo. I think it's really, really smart that this guy, who did this? Void? Notice how he's fighting. Void is fighting the dive. And then he sees the Lucio ult go off. And he's like, you know what? We're probably going to win this. Right? Like, we may be down one, but we have an ult advantage and they're way over here. The only thing that's going to stop us if their supports get in here. And so he immediately turns and ults. Now the back lines goes, shit. Gotta get inside. And he buys his team time. The dive comp is actually survived still. And they start falling back. And so now they're attacking more as a team, but sorry. So it gets re-engaged. This is almost like the second part of the fight because everyone is lined up. Right, the defense is lined up now. Things went a little bit hectic, but because Dive Comp has low cooldowns, they just dove. It was a bit like things fucked up. They got separated from the team. Dive Comp just came back, and everything's a-okay. So this is looking very good for the attackers right now, especially with the Soldier ult on top. They get a pick, and I was very interested in what happens now. So they have to Zen out ult, right? It's almost capped. You have to do this. And this is very, very good communication by Kongdoo. One person on point, while the rest hunt down. What we're going to be seeing is a Winston. The one person's hurt. Their allied Winston comes out to get on point. Oh, back on point, right? They already have someone so close. They keep someone on point, but they're not afraid to take two people and send them out to get the Winston. Ult comes out. That was a very good boop, because what this boop did is it separated the team. It put all of Envyus over here, except for one guy who I believe is a Tracer and is blinking in this exact frame. And so now everyone's in front of them again. It's just a lot less complicated of a situation to be in. But all this was just to buy time for a fucking Soldier ult. So they bought enough time to get a Soldier ult out, cleaned up. They now retain control, which was in a very do-or-die situation. They did very good. Very good coordination by Kongdoo. Shouldn't be understated.
코코 선수가 이제는 너무 과감하게 들어가는 거 생각을 하고 들어가야 돼요.
그래서 이펙 선수의 위치를 봤더니 뒤쪽에 있더라고요.
So Tracer's just poking a bit. This is another advantage of dive comp, is you can poke as people are attacking. So the dive is called. And of course, it's the Zen. Poor Zen. Zen ults. They try to get a kill, but they survive long enough. Right? Everyone's... some guys are hurt a little bit. But again, dive comp is a little bit naturally tanky. As the Zen ult is waning, as long as it's on its last couple seconds, they Lucio ult to cover for when the Zen ult is down. And so now they have a significant advantage, right? They had a large hit point advantage. Tracer gets traced down. Yeah, I can say that. And from there, the other team was just bullied out. They're too separated to help each other. And she gets killed. So that was a very good... I like the ult usage on Lucio's part to hit it exactly when the Zen is waning. But then to push everyone out, and then whoever's left, just kill him. So now, 12 seconds left, if people can't see. 12 seconds left. They have to attack. That's just all there is to it. So we see dives. And what do they do? Rotated all 6. Dive comp threw 2 people out. And they just Zen ulted. And now they're just looking... And it was really smart because, yeah, 2 people are pushing the cart, but it takes a while for the cart to get to here, to the finish point. So right now, this entire fight is going on without the 2 tanks. Right, so for like... Yeah, I'd say right about here. They're about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7... Alright, so the tanks, they had a 2-man advantage for about 5 to 6 seconds. They got 2 kills on good heroes, and now they're like, oh wait, now we can deal with the cart, right? 1, overtime. You get overtime spawn penalties, so kills are worth double, as I just say it. Now they can go back and deal with the tanks, right? And it's easy to deal with tanks without any support. Just ults on point, and it just starts the brawl for the point. But because the offense is down people because of the 6 rotation split, look, here comes the team finally. Because they rotated all 6 and for 5 seconds had a 2-man advantage, this is the result of it. So, that was a very good defense. I think it's this. 10, 10, 10. Here we go, we start. What do we got? Dive. This is like classic dive. Maybe if this was a Genji, it'd be more classic. But Soldier's super, Soldier is so good on Nembani. And so we see this other team. Dive comp. Again, they're favoring the Sombra. And of course, Soldier's just really good. Soldier Ana's good on this first point because of the distances. So the normal shit happens. Health packs are hacked. Sombra gets some information. Now this was a really good move. And a ballsy one at that. Now they look outside the door and no one's there. And this Zen's like, you know what? Someone could be around the corner, and if not around the corner, they could be on that high ground over there. Either way, when I turn right, there's probably going to be someone and I can shoot him. So he gets 5 shots off on Winston, which puts him at about 50-60% health. He gets Zen orbed after that, and the Tracer tracks him down. And recalls right back to be with their team. Now, they have a very, very good positioning up here. They're down Winston, and again, remember, dive loses a lot of strength in its when parts start dying. So Soldier has to retreat, and for a good reason. Look, Tracer, as soon as they got space, they fill it. Tracer goes that way. Winston's going to go this way. Soldier's going to stay up here. A couple guys are going to go to point. Like, it was... that spread was really good. And so now, Envyus, the defense, is subjected to the choke point. Yeah, a couple one-on-ones happen, but again, because Soldier has the high ground, because Dive Comp has already lost parts of it, it's kind of like a fancy stagger right now. Yep. And since they're given space, that Soldier just fills the space immediately. Tracer's looking for anything. This is when Tracers are all like this. It is a good idea to try to get a pick because, well, sometimes you get that pick. With another pick, essentially, Envyus is forced very far back. Look at the amount of space the one, and this is why Hog was so good. One pick and you're at a severe disadvantage. That's why Hog is still good. So this is all just free space. Thanks for doing this, Chro. It makes me understand. No problem, man. I'm glad you get something out of it. So here is so Tracer's putting pressure up top. Just to give one to at least slow the people coming out of top a little bit down. It also is just good for information. It keeps them busy. Now the fight starts. So here's Soldier's advantage. He can be so far back, and when they engage him, he just runs away. He just stays at that annoyingly far distance. And so they start getting picks. They use their ult advantage. Winston gets a pick. D.Va's getting picks. Now starts the stagger. Whenever there's weak parts, Dive Comp just starts diving on it. Focus fire down, like everyone, they're going to die. See, look how fast. I mean, it was a good ult, but it's not going to save the point. Using the ult advantage to secure the point at the end there is just... It's just how you play Overwatch. I don't want to say it's good Overwatch, it's how to play Overwatch. And now, very quickly, they're at the same point the other team was, with 5 minutes. Again, Tracer looking for a pick. Not this time, Tracer. But the other Tracer does get a pick. Just look at this response. There's one pick. They give up everything. No, don't fight. Everyone get back. It doesn't allow the enemy team to build ults. It lets your team get back into a fight faster. Also, like, it'd be one thing if they lost one of the core components of Dive, like D.Va, Winston, or Tracer, who could get back to combat faster. They lost the Zen, who's going to be slow to get back to combat. Soldier doing his thing from range. And Kongdoo attacks from the side. Why do they attack from the side? So they can dive immediately on the back lines. We can see Kongdoo is just, I mean, they're at their spawn. Right, because a lot of the defense is going to hold around here on the right side. But when they get so close from taking the flank, they can use their movement abilities to get right up to here. Instead of having to push through the front and essentially getting hit more often, but also since they have to dive from farther back to get here, they're not going to land where they want. So they dove, they got nothing. In fact, they got some people picked. So let's go back. This whole dive happens, and all that happens is, of course, both Zens die to Soldier Helix rockets. Zen just gets picked on. I feel so bad for Zens in these games. The attackers get the point, but defense still very strong. Also, defense has a huge spawn advantage here.
좀 짧았고요.
자, 킬이 나오지 않았습니다만.
So this is maybe a little bit too far back.
떨어졌어요. 바닥으로 떨어졌죠.
So there's this Winston on the flank,
그렇죠. 거의 붙는
or there was a Winston on the flank.
듯진 않습니다.
So a Winston right now is fighting a Winston Tracer where we can't see on the left flank. They get the kill, and then this Tracer jumps out as D.Va ults, and she gets the pick. This is a very important pick.
킬이 나오지 않았습니다만. 네.
More or less, it's a waste. I don't want to say it's a waste at all, but it's a waste at all. Now, Tracer just trying to buy time, buys enough time for Zen to ult on point. And things are looking pretty rough right here. But a very, very good Tracer ult on a discorded D.Va just gets her right out of the mech, even though she's in a Zen ult, even though D.Va was in a Zen ult. From there, the Zen gets picked, and now it's a full retreat. Right, it's a defense.
또 이렇게
그죠? 아무도 없는 줄 알았는데 갑자기 시뻘건 뭐 이펙트 나타나서 다 죽었어요. 잡아내고 초월 안에 있는 메카 바로.
That was a very good turnaround because things were looking pretty bleak. When they lost to Lucio Winston here on the side, Tracer blinked in and got the D.Va. They were down 3, and more importantly, 2 of their tanks. Right, they could barely stand on point, but they stalled long enough and they got out. And again, it was the Tracer. More and more, we're seeing Tracer plays. It's the most. I would say it's the most important part of dive comp, just because of what she can do. A good Tracer can win the game for you.
자, 다시 계속 어떻게 한번 노려보죠. 또
So here we go again.
다시 계속
코코 선수가 비벼줄 수 있죠.
This time because they pushed the cart further. Now, instead of diving from back here, like before the cart was farther back and they were set up to fight here, the cart provides some cover so they can start ulting, or not ulting, start diving from here, which is within range. Like, dive range is 20 to 30 meters. Dive can't make it from here to here, but they sure as hell can make it from here to here with the cover of the payload. So what happens? The defense again runs into the spawn. So this is number 6 again. Defense by retreating. Run!
누굴 노릴 건지 정해서 메카부터.
You essentially run, your backlines survive. By the time the dive comp turns around to help their team, you come on out again and you start helping with the damage.
네. 이러면서 리스폰도 꼬겠다라는 생각이고요.
싸워주는 과정에서 제냐타가 약간 앞.
And that's a successful defense. And that's how they survive dive. You'll see it a lot. They're going to be sitting right back here, and whenever they get attacked on, they run back into spawn.
당해낼 수가 없었죠.
Most importantly, as well, they run back a little bit. Dive comp dives here and puts pressure on the backlines.
콘테나 쪽에서요.
근데 방금 전에 굉장히 의미 있는 전투를 해서요. 예, 루시오가 바로 힐을 켜주면서 공격 이제 소리방벽을 똑같이 맞춰줬단 말이에요. 그런 다음에 서로 간에 초월 타이밍도 미세하게 칩차인이 빠르다는 점은 이 공격 파트는 절대 방심하면 안 돼요.
그렇죠.
예, 절대 방심하면 안
넓은
됩니다.
쪽 돌아가면서.
So again,
그래서 몰아두고
we see it another time. They retreat back. But this time, the defensive tanks, like we see the D.Va up here.
메카를 깬 다음에
The Winston was out there putting pressure on him, but Winston has now come back.
이러면 더 수준이 킬수 있죠.
그 와중에
As the offense or defense comes out of spawn, they soldier ult. They get a couple picks. Picks on both sides, but spawn favors the defense. Good shot by Zen. That's another defense. Again, they survived the dive comp by retreating.
정말 미끼가 돼서 죽기는 실수적으로 죽긴 죽었는데 아군들이 그거를 기회로 만들어 버렸어요.
바로 치고 나가서 이펙 선수가 다시 한번 노려줬던 판단이 정말 순간적인 상황 판단 센스 좋았습니다. 아직도 저 상태예요 지금요. 화물 그
네.
진격 정도가.
하지만 방심만 하지 않는다면 소원을 빌려준다는 그 6개의 공.
And so here's Tracer trying to get something done.
조심해야 되거든요.
네, 근데 엠표스도 많아요.
Remember, I think people that have seen me review games a couple times now. Here we see what I call the 5-1 flank. I believe this is going to be the predominant strategy used in Overwatch as soon as teams get really good. Essentially, you put 5 on the main path, and one person flanks to try to get some pick or try to stir something, right? They try to stir the pot, I would say. And that just means They're trying to fuck up the backlines to create some type of response. And as soon as the defense responds, the whole team can respond back. So here's the 5-1 flank, and notice what this one flank does. Zen was watching her, Lucio was watching her, and she gets the soldier pick. So she kept 3 people more or less busy as the 5 pushed in and killed the Winston. The 5-1 split is very, very strong because there's so much pressure on the front from 5, you think it's 6. You're like, is there a 6th guy around there? Is he helping him? Where's it at? But by the time you realize that there's not a lot of people on the front, the 1 has done her damage. And then comes the fucking Hail Mary. Nope, Hail Mary gets ulted by D.Va. So that was a very good flank. The 5-1 flank, really fucking strong. And they definitely won that one. So, that is that. That is the second point, or the second match. And we're going to lovely Hanamura now. So, Hanamura was the choice. I'm pretty sure it was Envyus' choice because they lost. But we will see. Kongdoo, this guy's going to change. Probably to Winston. Yeah, so we see Tracer, D.Va, Winston again. Then Lucio. Tracer, D.Va, Winston. They use a Sombra on defense, which I would say on Hanamura is rough. There is a lot of open area, so Sombra can EMP a lot of people at once, but the health pack situation, there's not a lot of it. But they are running an Ana soldier. So they're running Sombra more, I don't want to say support, but like hacked health packs matter a lot. Problem is, there's not a lot of hacked health packs on Hanamura, and they're not in the best positions. But we do see a Widow, and now remember when Envyus ran this last time? The Widow caused them to be very defensive. Now we will be seeing the opposite. I think this is how Widow should be played. Maybe it's just because of the map, but there's a little bit of vertical mobility that Widow can take advantage of here. It'd still be safe being far back in the lines. Well, on what was it? Oasis? Widow didn't really have any high ground choices. She could have went up high ground to the left, but that's pretty dangerous. So already Dive Comp has dove him. And Envyus is go, oh, they got a Widow, guys. Let's dive the shit out of her. What does she do? Tracer Widow or Tracer Winston, and Widow survives. This is huge. This is gigantically huge. Envyus has committed 2 people to this. Got nothing. Not only that, but Widow's still over here. And this is, like, Widow, this is her perfect range. This is great for Widow. So here comes the fight. Everyone's in this back little fucking corner room. Defensive matrices everywhere. Bubbles, electricity, yada, yada, yada. Zen, wrong place, wrong time, my friend. But while this is happening, the Widow is doing damage. In fact, the Widow did get a pick. She got D.Va. But the Winston finally did get her. D.Va's retreated. Here's that Sombra, though. And notice how... not a lot of health. Low health. Dead and dead. So, Tracer starts picking on these weaker targets. She actually gets 2 picks there. She got the Winston, she got the Tracer. I think she got some before that. Soldier. She actually gets D.Va, then Soldier, then Winston, then Tracer. The lack of a second support kind of does bite him in the ass here. But also because they allocated so many resources to the Widow, and the Widow still essentially got a pick.
바꿔야죠.
Which, on Hanamura, you're just looking for a pick or two, and then using the respawn advantages, just abusing the shit out of that. Right, attackers are so much closer to the point on Hanamura point 1.
안 되겠다. 이거 이제 자리 잡고 싸워야 되니까요.
그래도 그냥 한번 EMP 쓰고 바꾸는 것도 괜찮았는데 그냥 과감하게 그냥 선택을 했네요.
그러게요. 그러니까 그냥 뛰어내리는 상태에서 주고 나서 EMP
We should note they got rid of the Sombra,
괜찮았는데 그냥 생활 붙여.
which I heavily agree with. Sombra on point 2 of new Hanamura is not the greatest.
계속 따라다닙니다.
분노의 틀에서
They also get back their second support, so they start running a more traditional comp. As for that push that just happened, Tracer gets a good ult off. There's not much to talk about.
다니면서 흔들기 때문에
Like, you could say, oh, Diva should have absorbed it with Defensive Matrix. That's the most you could talk about it with.
네, 그리고 이번엔 역할을 좀 바꿔서 버드링 선수가 뭐 솔저도 당연히 똑같이 잘하기 때문에 이런 거 바꿔도 위화감이 없는 팀이죠.
Here we go.
두 명의 딜러
And this is something that Dive Comp does poorly. And this is what I would say is a weakness of Dive Comp. Is that there's a choke point, and they kind of just
다루기 때문에
attack each other. And it's not very pretty.
떨고 싶은 그런 마음에
Like, Tracer's just in there running around, defensive matrices all around. You don't know if your shots are going to land or not. Winston's kind of doing damage to everyone, but both teams have Lucio, so they're kind of mitigating the damage. Kongdoo, more importantly, had a soldier healing field, which greatly aids them. So it's kind of like this really ugly fight for the choke. I want to just specifically note this, is that they only put the Diva Winston up here. They try to flank a Tracer around back, but they seriously try to defend this with just 2 people, 2/3 people.
떨고 싶은 그런 마음에 공대판테라.
They get out healed and they get pushed to the point. Now that they're on the point, they can start using ults. They demech Diva, Lucio ult, and then just start getting picks. Winston tries to dive up top, but I think there's just too much to up there. While the Tracer sits back here and pushes everyone in spawn. Because look, well, Winston, it's only a Winston up here, and he's going against Soldier Lucio, Zen. They all can kind of they can heal out of the Winston damage. But here comes the skilled Tracer. She shoves the team back in spawn. Soldier was nano-visored, but Diva doesn't give a fuck about any of that. While that's happening, constant damage from Diva. And then, yeah, everyone just starts ulting the point. The Winston ult shoves everyone back in the choke point here, and now he's going to come over here to shove everyone back in there. And at this point, it's a win. Like, it was very clear cut.
해주고 있습니다.
It didn't even take 30 seconds. How long did this take? So it started at 55. This is the disadvantage. So we talked about defense by running away. In Envyus, I think this is a... So Envyus did it on Nambani a lot. It's like, oh, we get aggressed on. Everyone just run back to spawn. This time, it backfires. They get stuck in these long, thin corridors from the Tracer at first. And then when they come out towards the point, now everyone is coming through this area. Like, it's very small, very simple. Diva can just put her defensive matrix over here and stop everything. And once they get shoved back in this point, this side, they get shoved back in the other side when they try to get out there. All while Soldier's doing his... Soldier's being fucking king of the area right here. This is when retreating doesn't work. And that's when they have the strength to shove you back into the choke. Yeah, that was 35 seconds it took.
너무 쉽게 이겼어요. 이게 뭐냐면 궁을 너무 이상하게 썼어요. 그러니까 어떤 의미냐? 아니
Super easy.
있더라도 그걸 솔저에게 주기 위해서
다 같이 한번 그러니까 그뭐 글로벌하게 보면은 뭐 최고의 팀을
Winston's trying some cheeky shit.
근데 판테라 쪽에서는 수비로 들고 나온 이거 전략 자체가 지금 겐지 트레이서
He's just gonna chill up here. I think he falls though.
그런 모습이기도 하거든요.
That is a cheeky little fucking spot, though.
포커싱에서 약간 어긋나면 잘 안 죽을 수도 있어요, 상대방이. 자, 들어갑니다.
So, what happens?
이어스.
What's this Winston doing? Winston's super out of position. Low health already, like very low health. What does this mean? Hey guys, dive the Winston. He's low health. This is where we see the Ana pick pay off. A lot of people think Ana can't survive in this meta. On the longer points, she can. And this is what she gives to counter, I don't want to say counter, what she has against the dive comp. Everyone bit on the Winston being super low health, and he got burst healed up. Now, look how far everyone is in. The supports are back here. They're actually like fighting down here where people can't help them. It'd be one thing if they were fighting on this top area, but they're not. While this is all happening, the defense Genji Tracer gets a very good pick in the backlines, and now the backlines are busy with 2 people. They had Soldier, Zen, Lucio in the backlines, so 1, 2, 3. And they're keeping these people busy with 2 people. That is the Genji Tracer. Well, 1, 2, 3 dive, but they're going against 4. And they're going against the meteor part of dive comp, which is Diva, Winston, Ana. So now that the game's been separated, and they dove super heavy on the Winston, it just starts falling apart. And it should be noted, again, we talk about tension, and we're like, oh, they thought they had the Winston kill, so they all just dove for it, and they're just like, oh yeah, go this way. And they're like, fuck, we had so much tension, they were stuck, you know, chasing the Winston. These are professional players. People think, hey, I'm bad, so yeah, I did have tension, but, you know, when I'm better, I'm not going to make those same mistakes. No! Guys, from bronze to grandmaster to professional, everyone makes the same mistakes in different degrees. So, like, don't get down on yourself about what mistakes you make. Everyone fucking makes them. It just depends how bad they make them or how often and whatnot. There's a couple times where we saw tension fucking over an entire professional team. So it's not like one person made a mistake. It was like 6 people together, and they all collectively made that same mistake. It should just be noted, yeah. Like, just remember, you're making the same mistakes everyone else is. It's not that big of a deal. Don't get down on yourself.
확실히 그 어떤 관리하는지 개인 화면을 많이 보지 못해서 모르겠지만 확실히 안정감 있고 송하나가 튀어나오는 일이 굉장히 지금 적어요.
그렇죠. 메카가 있느냐 없느냐 이것도 완전 다른 얘기하네요.
유진혁 싸움에서
Nope.
말도 안 되는 차이가 나는 것이.
Also, so Ana, what happened in the last push is what we talked about in the beginning of the entire review. The advantage of burst heal is something that Dive struggles against if you can get it off. That's if you get it off. But sometimes you can, like they did. Also, notice how everything is diving into what is, I would consider, a closed-in area over here with this room. Again, Dive is a little bit rougher to execute inside a closed-in area. So they kind of use both those things to their advantage. This time, so Envyus picks a side. Remember when I say pick a side, cleave to the center? That is exactly what Envyus did. They went left route, and now they're going to attack from here. The problem is Kongdoo went to defend this. I just want to look where Kongdoo is at. Okay, these are the 2 red guys. Blue's down here. Kongdoo dove in the middle of them. Not suggested. So they lose their 2 DPSers. They try to get out of this numbers deficit by ulting Winston. They almost kill Soldier, but the ulted Winston does get some work done. He gets a couple kills. I think he almost demeched Diva, and now he's just pushing the rest of the team around. And this is essentially stall. Because dive comp is so quick, they're going to get back to the point faster than most other compositions. So stalling for that long will get, as we see actually right here, Tracer's already back. So the stall worked perfectly. Genji is trying to put solo pressure on the supports, and he gets his ass whooped for it. But the attacker Tracer is also in the back lines, and this is kind of where they start. This is where the compositions start breaking down. Backline against backline. Better self-defense on the attacker's backlines. Worse self-defense on the defense backlines, which means the defense lost a guy in the backlines, and they lost a guy in the front line, which is essentially they've lost the point at that point. Yeah. I just want to look at this one more time, because it was looking good right here. When the Winston pushed everyone off point, the Tracer comes in, D-Max Diva. This is looking really, really good. Okay, so the Ana's running back from spawn. Yeah, okay, so that's where the Ana's at. Because we can see they're a little bit hurt on healing. I thought this was going to turn the fight around. But the Ana getting directly pressured in the back lines stops her from healing anyone else in the front lines. And yeah, the Genji losing is just... This is unfortunate. There's the Ana dying in the back line, so she can't heal. It's essentially, this is a bit of a choke out. Good recover for Envyus, though. They had a pretty big advantage. And now everyone's favorite point. Hanamura point 2. And right here, I don't really give a fuck what happens right here. As far as I'm concerned, they got the point. Alright, that's something to note, is they baited a Zen ult out. And now comes, this first push is so important. Incredibly important. Let's try. What is the first thing that we see? It should be noted how important this part is. Envyus immediately takes the balcony. This is really good because they have a soldier. Taking the balcony usually will win you the point. So they kind of just bully Genji off the point. Genji tries to do some stuff, but there's a Winston up there, so it doesn't really matter much. Winston starts the dive, and this is what kicks off the entire exchange. Winston dives, so it's alright. Genji dives the other way. The other Winston engages as well. Divas swap places. But Genji dies a pretty terrible death. And as Soldier's up here, he's just owning this high ground. Notice how they have... Where am I at? 1, 2, 3. The rest are on point. Zen, no fall off. Can Discord and heal everyone from up here. Lucio's just assisting these guys. In case anyone does attack, he can help them. And then Soldier's doing Soldier things. But Tracer tries to bully... Tracer sees this and tries to push him off the top. Now, let's just count. So Tracer's still bothering him right now. So what? 1,000. About 10 seconds, she bought time by keeping these 3 people occupied for her team to do something. And does her team do something? Yes. They get a Tracer pick and a Diva mech pick. This number advantage allows the Winston to get up here to reclaim balcony. Tracer also does a really funny flank. Zen was slept. But Tracer keeping everyone busy for 10 seconds wins the point here. Or at least saves it. It was looking pretty bad. If they held the top balcony for that long, it probably would have been game. So very good decision making on clearing the balcony. So they push in, they start getting some kits. Nothing big happens. So notice how I said I noted this last push, or the last round, is that Envyus defended up here with just Diva Winston, and it looks like Kongdoo's doing the same, but they're not. They had, in fact, give it up immediately. Right? They're not putting anyone up here to take damage. They just say, hey, you guys want to take that balcony? We'll take it. So this is kind of like defense by retreating. Everyone just kind of backs up. And they're like, if you want this area, fine. You know what? Fuck you. Take it. And then the call is made. Diva, Winston, all at once. Tracer comes around the side. And they're going to try to get something. Now, Winston gets booped immediately, which makes it a lot weaker. Zenalt comes out, and with this, they can finally bully through it. It's looking pretty good, right? They got 3 picks. They're ulting Winston. Kinda lives, but then he dies. Lucio ult. And this play I fucking love. So they nano visor out this way. Diva goes, oh, we have to take this out. Goes after him. Not only that, but here's the soldier. It's only a soldier. It's a tracer. Winston's there, and there's a Diva in here as well. Winston is going to kill the Ana that was here and back off. But then it's going to be a Diva tracer against this soldier. And he gets a fucking great melee. And this entire idea of running this way to pull 3 people off point allows the 3 of his team to kill the rest of them. Right? I mean, look, red is actually the defense. Like, look, Winston's over here, Diva's over here. And I believe their soldier was over here before he died. Oh, no, there's a soldier. He's still getting away. Notice how they're so split up. And then in the middle is all of Kongdoo. This point was looking really bad. Because, look at the kill feed. Ana, Tracer, Zen. They're down 3 people. They start stalling the point. Well, Diva dies. They're still stalling the point with Winston ult. Stalling. Alright, they got 1 tick. Soldier gets a really good point here, but the respawn advantage is finally hit. The first picks that they got, they need to be either taking up room in the choke point, or like they have to be punishing the people coming out of spawn room, I'm saying. They got 3 spawns, but these choke points are really, really thin. You have to take advantage of the respawn wave by keeping everyone stuck in there. But we can see the soldier sprint out with nano visor. Everyone follows him, and that's when he starts buying space for his team. He gets a kill, and that's actually super important. Defense, once the offense starts bleeding on a 2CP map, you guys know it's fucking 2CP. Everyone knows this. What happens. Like, there's all this big, everyone's talking, like, oh my god, how is this happening? Like, hear the excitement in the Korean caster's voice. Everyone knows the fucking truth. Offense started bleeding, you lost 2CP. So it was this defense was all about allocating the right resources at the right time. I believe Envyus did not allocate the correct resources against the soldier. And they needed to allocate more resources at point. I would say this is looking like a big issue for Envyus, because this is the 3rd time in this game where they had to allocate resources and they did it improperly. The first time was on point 1 of Hanamura, where they put 2 against the Widow, and she still kind of got away with it. But Kongdoo in this last... sorry, I just want to make one more point. Sorry about going over this a lot. But on this entire exchange, and I focus on this because it looked like Envyus should have had this here. This is when we see, like, very good allocation on Kongdoo's side. So Kongdoo allocated very, very correctly. The D.Va, as soon as we go out here, you'll start seeing it. D.Va is on the Soldier. Tracer was on the Lucio. Winston's doing jack all over here. Yeah. And at this point, since D.Va shuts down the Soldier, it's a Winston and the D.Va, you know, this D.Va, which are relatively short-range heroes, trying to get long-range stuff, or at least medium-range stuff done. This was very good allocation on Kongdoo's part. It wasn't just a problem with Envyus. I believe Kongdoo made some very, very good decisions on which matchup should be taken where. So we can just skip all this. We know what happens. D.Va dives in the hole. And out comes to the next one. Good bionic grenade. They're trying to take the balcony as always. Like, this is just good Overwatch. Tracer gets a pick, just skill. Right, she just outskills the Soldier. Kongdoo is, or Envyus is forced back. It's funny to think how much a pick matters. But a pick just bought probably 20 seconds. So, next attack. Bomb gets eaten. We can see the Winston. So, very, very carefully, the Winston, watch the Envious Winston, he's going to leap right here. And, you can see the Z's. Winston is slept. So they get an immediate advantage, and as soon as this pick is seen, it's true that D.Va would lose, like, she's Zen-orbed and everyone's attacking her, so she wins the defensive matrix. But in the global scheme of things, they got a pick. Meaning, D.Va has to survive this. If D.Va survives, it means they have a 5v6 and not a 5v5, which the offense can pressure in on. So she defensive matrix all the way back. All the way back, gets healed up. And now it's treated like a pick. It wasn't a trade, it was a pick at this point because D.Va survived. And now they have to burn another 20 seconds waiting for their guys. So this is, I like this type of stuff. So, Envyus is trying different stuff. They got a couple people over here. They got Tracer in the center. So they got Tracer up here. They got 2 people over here, and I think they got 3 over at the top here. This is why you want to at least try to flank sometimes, is that look at the reaction this gets. Which is good and bad. They're taking all their people and say, hey, let's crush these 2 and crush this push. But as they go out there, they notice it's only a couple people, and they're like, hey, wait, get back to point. We have to set up defense again. And so they do that. Right, now they're getting back into position. They almost got pulled out of position. That was very close to being a very big mistake on Kongdoo's part by essentially taking the bait. It was close. Soldier ults, prompts an immediate double tank dive on him. Essentially wastes the ult. They get 1 pick, and then Zen commits the ult on point. It's funny because D.Va is going after someone out here. This matchup I don't quite understand, but this D.Va is really hellbent on attacking. I forget who's out here. The Winston went to help him, but I think that the D.Va just lets him go, and the Winston then comes to jump over here, and he pushes everyone back into this choke. He splits up the team. Soldier ults, and why did Soldier ult? I don't know where the fuck this D.Va went. I wish I had control of the camera. Because they did this dive 5v6. Here, there's the D.Va. Envyus tries to dive with the Winston onto the main group. So you saw 3 people back here, and then here's where the Winston, you see the Winston trying to put pressure onto the choke point. But where the fuck is this D.Va? So Winston's alone. He gets killed. There's nothing Winston can do because he was alone. I actually... So, looking at D.Va's health, and I'm like trying to figure out what's going on. D.Va gets shot a little bit, but I don't know where she was. You think the D.Va was dealing with the Tracer? There's the nano boosted soldier. So we're looking for the red Tracer. There's the blue Tracer. There's Ana. There's Lucio. Let's look at Tracers. She's at 71. Okay, yeah. So Tracer put a... Yeah, I think they are. I think Tracer and D.Va are 1v1ing each other. That was a good call. But dive comp is weaker when it's pulled apart. Also, so this was a myriad of things, right? So like we said, dive comp doesn't work that well indoors. So here we are indoors. That's where the Winston, he jumped in right here. Also, there was no D.Va to protect the Winston. So the Winston took the full brunt of a Zen... No, not a Zen Orb. He just took the full brunt of the entire team, including nano-boosted Soldier. The Winston, the Kongdoo Winston was out here with 3 people. So this Winston was toast. He didn't have the D.Va. He didn't have his other supports. He was a ways in with no help. So that push right there was just a bit fractured. So bad dive on Envyus' part. There we go, another Tracer ult. And stuff like this gives so much time. And with this, time is starting to tick down. This last push. What time did he kill him? About 30 seconds in. To die at this point in time is very bad because now Envyus has to just run to the point. Essentially, you have to take tactics and strategy and throw it out the window, and you're like, I just gotta get to the point, team. It's crazy how the Trace. This is the 3rd time this game I think Trace has done that. So Tracer is going around the back way, gets on point, gets immediately deleted. Winston's just keeping people busy at the front. Points got, or people got picked, so pretty much over. Winston keeping the back lines busy while they just killed a couple people on the front line. Nothing you can do about that. So tactical pause, underscore. Whoa, 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 whoa. So that was Hanamura. Again, another win for Kongdoo. And we are down to Route 66. We can just look at the classes really quick. Well, D.Va, Winston, Tracer, Lucio. This time, the defense has a lot stronger health packs to hack. I definitely see Sombra being able to support better from a support perspective. on Route 66.1. And Soldier's just fucking good.
중납이 좀, 예,
Kongdoo will be using...
수 있는 방향이 더 있는 선수이긴 한데, 그래서
Oh. Gotta wait for him to change.
그렇죠. 메르시에서
A very odd composition. So, it's dive, right? This is dive comp. Tracer, Winston, Diva, Zen, normal. Mercy, that's a cool pick, but I'm like, alright, then a Pharaoh's gonna be here. But there isn't. The Widow.
네. 어차피 집사의 선수가 손보라를 들고 나왔다는 건 대체하면서
I don't know if...
근데 지금 볼
So what Kongdoo's gonna be doing a lot is they're gonna be damage boosting the Widow. And I'm thinking maybe Mercy's stronger. They think Mercy's strong on Route 66.1. And I would say yes, because if Mercy gets under the gas station, she can heal, I think... I'm not exactly sure because I don't know the distances offhand. But if this is top of the garage, if Mercy's here, like, I'm thinking anyone around the garage, anyone on the payload path will get rezzed.
50%?
So
그냥 차라리
maybe it is a stronger support at first,
제압을 시키는 게더
or on this point.
어설프게 하다 EMP만 찹니다. 자,
So fucking dive comp.
그냥 차라리
As soon as they get on the cart, they get dove on.
선수가 있어요. 괜히 어설프게 하다 EMP만 찹니다. 자, 벌써 붙었죠? 자, 루프
Of course, the poor Zen gets blown the fuck up, as always.
기지 안에 들어가서 평범하게 대처하지
A lot of damage is exchanged, but very few kills, except for this. Now the Widow pick is starting to pay off. Again, dive fighting dive in a close quarter area is just really stupid. Tracer got hacked, but didn't get hacked, but still died anyways.
옆에서 계속해서 힐팩 먹으면서
And with the health pack advantage, they're going to win any fight in that choke point. And if they do fall back to the second health pack, it's even better. Here's that damage boosted Widow.
경기처럼 좀 경기를 잘하고 있습니다. 인베우스.
프레시아노 이 손보라가 나오면서 뭔가 좀 달라지나요?
It's just not doing much. Sombra ults. They get the Zen pick because he has 50 health.
이거 보여주는 거죠.
Finally, they get a pick on offense.
성공한 예, 라스칼.
But it doesn't last for long. Tracer going to be start cleaning up. So, here's a res. Now, is this res useful? Let's see Lucio. Lucio spawns right about now. So Lucio's just getting out of spawn. These characters, notice it's two characters part of the dive comp, meaning the characters that died up here can now immediately dive to get to someone. This is because space. So, let me draw Route 66. There's that little covered area. There's that side path. Rocks here. Payload goes like this. So what happened was the dive comp died about here. Now they got a Lucio pick. People would call this a tempo res. But what happened was people died here, and when that happens, the enemy's going to rotate in, right? They're like, hey, we have a number advantage. Everyone get in, and even if they don't dive in, they will still at least go, oh, people are dead. I can move up from here to here. They start moving up because they have space. What Mercy does is say, hey, guess what? That shit that was over here, yeah, it's now back up. Now this space, very, very small space from the respawn to where they got, where the enemy is now coming in at. And so we immediately see this. So there's a Tracer and Winston. They get rezzed. Tracer, Winston dive in and are now fighting on top of them. So the Winston gets a soldier in the background. The Winston that dives in dies to Tracer. And I think at this point, because Sombra doesn't ult and she doesn't really try to kill this Zen that much, I believe the call was made, hey guys, just reset. See what you can get. If you can't get anything, whatever, just reset. Because that Sombra death was odd. Essentially what that Sombra death said to me was, they didn't want to risk her hiding and getting found out. They wanted 100% chance of the Sombra being with them. And the only way to do that is to die and respawn with the team. As Kongdoo at this point in time, you would definitely think they will defend this. Everything they said, or all their actions has led up they will defend this. There's the defense coming out at the last possible minute. So, problem with the last second defense is you have to go through the choke points. Dive comp dives on the choke points, and they just keep it busy. They get 2 picks immediately. Winston has the ult, Diva has the ult. I mean, look. 1, 2, she just spawned, I believe. Yeah, she did. Against, right now, 5 players. So this is looking pretty good. And now it's a bit of a scramble. It's like, Widow, what are you doing on point? You don't belong on point. But they start fighting back. They start getting picks. The Sombra got a couple picks. Again, Tracer. Right, they're down so many people. Very good ult on Lucio's part. I mean, look, Diva was low, and so was Tracer. Tracer then starts getting picks. Sombra starts getting picks. They're doing a very, very good job here. And I think that health pack is hacked, so they do have... It's not, actually. Good DMAC. So it's looking pretty even. It's almost looking good. But then the Widow wasn't working, right? You already got a Mercy. Pharah is pretty good. So they roll out the Pharah pick. This essentially scares everyone else off. They're like, because they're in the choke points, because Pharah can get these really, really good shots straight in there, they finally get it done. But that entire exchange with all the ultimates on the point right before, it's really hard to say there was something tactical being done. It's kind of just everyone attacking each other. Good. It comes down to more skill at that point, like individual skill, less tactics. So we see what a good team normally does. They were given space on point 2, and so the Tracer is going to go up this way. I should be doing. I'm thinking top down. So while the Tracer was flanking, the Sombra came in and ulted. Of course, Zen gets killed. They got a man advantage. They did have a Tracer in the back, but the Tracer actually loses to Lucio. Now they can start putting a lot of pressure onto this front choke. Right? Perfect. Eva was low on health, so she expected a shot, but she gets hacked instead. I think she gets demacked. She doesn't. She makes it out. So here the call was Winston was low. So we'll see the attackers. Like, Fisher is super low. Look at that. He's at like 50 health. But she dives a little bit too far. She ults to try to get her mech back, but dies to a Tracer. So the people that dove died. And now Envyus just gave Kongdoo an advantage. Again, low health was a cause of tension, and they really bit on that. I think they should have just let the Winston go because he needed to heal. Yes, they would have gotten like 450 health points of support ult. But they dove super far for it. I don't think getting a pick is worth that positioning disadvantage. So, almost got the kill. Again, dies the tension. But because of the picks that happened before, Kongdoo is now able to get this corner. Tracer ults. DMAC right away. And as the fights come out, Kongdoo is getting on top. Yeah, that was a bit of yeah, that was just good plays. It came down to more skill there. So this is a great EMP up and over. They also Lucio boost, so they can follow up on all of the kills. Soldier's trying to do his best from up here, but he's actually having a tough time doing damage. And enough people have died, so he's running out. Now this Lucio is also running out. Remember Tension getting people killed? So pow. They get a Lucio kill. Good job. But what happens because of this? Their own Lucio dies. And now they're at a pretty big disadvantage. Again, if they wanted to, they could have let the Lucio go, and they could have set up shop, you know, where they normally did, where they first defended the point. So they could have got this corner, the bridge, and that other place over here. The Winston ass is in my way. But because of the Lucio pick, they can't set up now. They dove so far that they had no time to set up. Like, this time that they dove could have been setup time. So immediately, Kongdoo essentially gets this corner back for free. All this space, look, they got all the space. They got this, came around this flank, main path, all the space because of the Lucio pick that they dove for. So Diva is getting dove on. She ults to save to remech. The remech gets destroyed instantly again, and this is all from that fucking Lucio ult or Lucio chase down. Soldier ult was mitigated by the Zen ult, and now Soldier's on the high ground doing what, you know, high ground soldiers do. But he's forced on point because just overtime. And Sombra gets on point. Now this is really good. Sombra's at 86% ult. She's stalling the cart. Winston finds her, but she goes back, heals, gets her ult from the health pack, while Winston immediately gets on point. And now Sombra's going to come back out. Perfect EMP. This is all in overtime, so kills are very, very important. Tracer, fish out of water with it being hacked. They get a couple really good picks, but coming out of the choke point I think is too much of a disadvantage. Also, they lost a lot of people right as overtime happened, so they were a bit staggered. At this point, they don't have enough meat. Soldier ults to get the point. I don't mind the ult. It happens. You need to get the point or you lose, so that's fine. So all of their positional things that they could have had, they didn't have. Essentially, the defense didn't have any positional advantage there. It was all a very big scramble because of the initial Lucio chase. Do I think overtime is a bad mechanic? I don't like it. Zen, God, I feel so sorry for him. Gets killed. As the EMP happens, the dive comp dives. This is their second dive afterwards. But because they got so many picks, it's now essentially they're diving on the weaker parts of what's left. This, I don't mind Tracer hiding here, but I think she reveals herself a little bit too early because she has ult. If she didn't have ultimate, I wouldn't care, but she has ultimate, so she could be, you know, really setting someone up. She misses her ult. Lucio ults. Now it's time for pretty much the last defense. There's 16 seconds left in the game. They got to use everything they got to get them out of here, and they do so. They kind of ult their way out. They Winston ulted, they Soldier ulted, and they Lucio ulted. And so with time going down, it's just a script for the point. Nothing really strong to say here. Just people running to the point and dying. Oh. Let me look at my notes. Yeah, they dove when she EMP'd. Snowballed from there. That point too, that point too, there was 2 kills that I think worked against them, and they kept on trying to chase people down a little bit too strongly. And so let's see what the composition for this is once Hanzo changes. Tracer, Soldier, Diva, or Winston Diva, Zen Lucio, like classic dive. Classic dive as well. Instead of a Soldier, they got a Sombra. Sombra is really good on this point for a couple of reasons. One, there's very few corners on the route path and very few places to hide. Like if she ults, the only place to hide is either like far away from it or like inside the gas station. Also, you get the big health pack here, and you have the big health pack in the choke point. Sub. I haven't checked subs in a while. Shit. Hold on. So E4 Grimsley with a 2-month resub. PD Ray, the 6-month resub. He says, finally I've hit master. Oh, I think I said that. I think I gave you PD Ray. Yep. Just at Lucio. 30 bits. Do you think the meta has potential to grow out of dive? I think dive is the superior composition right now with the heroes and the balance in the game. If Blizzard did nothing from this point on, I think dive would be the meta. So for Kongdoo, they don't dive as early as Envyus did on offense. They actually wait for it to come to the corner before they attack. And I think this is a lot better of a choice than what Envyus did. Envyus attacked like as soon as they touched cart. What this does is it allows you to use this health pack a lot more actively. Right? I can actually sit in this room and attack people that are trying to get the cart. Rather than diving, getting some damage done, running back, getting health, and then doing it again. So I like this decision of it coming out a little bit farther. It's also a lot less risky because of this wall. Like, Winston jumped up here, and he's like, I don't like that, so he just fell down. If Winston jumped all the way over here, he has no way out. He has to wait for Leap to come back. So, Winston, I believe, dove alone there. I don't have visual confirmation, but it feels like he dove alone because he just gets wrecked. This Sombra gets a very good long-range pick, as far as Sombra's concerned, on the Zen. Also, well, it was the, yeah, so there it is again. She doesn't even use her EMP because it's not needed. This Sombra Tracer kind of divey type deal is really strong, and there's the health pack being used. So they get a first point defense so far. I missed the sub. Scooter Pint. Thank you so much for the sub, man. So they dive again, and this time because again, look, they're waiting until they get to the corner, so they can kind of abuse the fact that as soon as they turn around this corner, the front lines can't help the back lines. I like this decision from Kongdoo so much better. The poor Zen gets killed. Lucio gets killed. Dive comp dives, and they get a bunch of picks. Diva suicides to get her mech back immediately. Also, that first attack where they didn't get anything done, it baited out the bubble. So Winston had a little bit less to use. This is a very odd choice. You can see the carrot. That's the Zenyatta. This is the Zenyatta. No, it's not. Here's the Zenyatta. Look where the Zenyatta's at. He's so fucking out of position. Of course he's dead. I don't know what Zen was doing, but he's dead. Because of that, it causes a full retreat. That's essentially a 20-second mistake.
이러면 안 되는데 살아있는 시간이 너무 짧아요.
So I'm not sure why
플레이 시간이 받쳐줘야
that happened. But it was a good recognition on Envyus' part to see that they were down a man and they needed to get out immediately because they all retreated as soon as Zen died. As soon as Zen died, the rest of the dive comp dove in. But because they were retreating, they didn't get anything more.
어 이거 또 잘리면 이거 진짜 더
Zen again gets killed. He is at... Okay, he just... Oh no. He is at 86%. Alt. There's a minute and a half left.
아군들에게도 이러면 화가 나거든요. 그러면 케어해 주던가. 이러면서 막 서로 미쳐버리는 상황이죠.
같이 가야 되는데. 야, 가자.
먹어주던가 이러면서 서로 이거 침착하게 같이 와야 돼. 같이 와야 돼요.
So let's see what happens now that alts are pretty much in favor everywhere. A ton of alts. So both teams dive each other's backlines. There's the Winston, the Tracer's over here, the Diva's coming in. What does that mean? That means the Winston, the Diva, and the Tracer are diving the other enemy lines. Double Zen ult comes out from both sides. Sombra holds onto her ult. Doesn't see anything, so she doesn't ult just yet. And she gets deleted because she was Zen or Zen discorded. And now here comes... so Diva could have ulted there, but they're not. Again, it was a smart call that as soon as they saw a couple people die... There's the Sombra. And they bait out the... I don't want to say bait. But they used the Soldier ult. Soldier ult gets a couple people. And now it's just like, die. Everyone die, don't use ults. We're making another fight on this point. I think... It was a really good decision because Sombra wouldn't have gotten that many people with an EMP there that she just held off on it. That allows them to give an actual proper push or proper defense on the last point. So instead of going through the choke point like Envyus did before, Kongdoo is going to come out the upper ground, the high ground. I believe this is the superior way of getting out because Winston and Diva can just go up. They're not stuck going through a small little choke point. Once the Winston Diva get out, it buys space for the rest of the team to get out of the choke point. So, defensive Lucio ult, offensive Lucio ult. Nothing gets caught. Ults go off everywhere. And so far it's been pretty much even. Now, the Winston jumps up here. He's attacking a lesser health Winston. But with Sombra there, gets a pick. And this is... essentially, this is a flank, I would consider. So essentially, they dove up here to kill a Winston. Winston dove up here to kill a Winston. Sombra, they countered this. And they won this flank. Securing the top of the gas station is huge. Because now they have a very, very superior positioning. I know they don't even have that many long-range heroes, but still, they don't have to worry about above them. Now comes the mad rush for the point, because we are in overtime. They run their own Sombra instead of Zen, because he's not going to get it all. I mean, he took fucking 3.5 minutes just to get his own ult once. He's not going to get it a second time. Kongdoo, playing on point. Keeping everyone stuck in the choke. Anyone that comes out, they deal damage to it. Then finally, they get enough picks. Another defensive Lucio ult. Sombra EMPs. I mean, it's just right now, it's just ulting on point. And then they kill him. Really, really strong play from Kongdoo. They 4-0'd him. This was a best of 7. And Kongdoo just freaking 4-0'd him. Quite easily. Route 66. So over the 4 maps, there is Oasis. Hanamura. Route 66, and Nambani. Hanamura was I think that was, I don't want to call it a stomp, but Kongdoo clearly had the advantage in it. Oasis was even. This was a good attempt there. This was a bit of a stomp, right? They got pretty bad. Nambani, I think they had 2 minutes left on the clock. It was more even, but it was still not what I expected. I would say the better team won here, hands down. Envyus has some weird issues. So we go back to camera, because, I mean, that's it. That was it. That's Dive Comp in a nutshell, guys. It really sucks, because most people, or I should say, most games that we see right now in the professional scene are that. That's very classic. It comes down a lot to Sombra picks. It comes a lot down to Sombra and Tracer picks. When dive actually happens, the dive both supports. If the support, whoever gets more out of the supports wins. I'm not a fan. Yeah. That's all I gotta say about that. And we didn't really get good news with Jeff's post. I mean, there's two things that he said that really upset me. The one, he's like, well, the pros are going to use whatever strategy is better. So if we can't balance within 1%, we're not going to do it. So he's just giving up on balance because they can't reach perfect balance, which was a really shitty thing to say. And the other thing was, he said TF2 had a same meta forever, and that's why we can do it for Blizzard. TF2 wasn't supported competitively at all. It was a terribly balanced game, and it was pretty shit. Yeah, it was. So I don't know if they're going to actually work on changing dive, but we can't depend on that. We have to just figure out dive, and the best way to figure out is stuff like this. So dive comes down to individual skill a lot of the time. A lot less on tactics, but there's still some to be had. There's still some stuff you can do. It's not that terrible, but it's definitely not the greatest. Is it break time? Yeah, I'm pretty much done at this point. If anyone has any questions, throw them my way. You perceive the issue with Envyus as being issues with their calls. It seems that Envyus had terrible disengages and overcommits to chasing. So Envyus has, so tension is one of Envyus's big issues. They committed on kills that didn't matter a lot. They did it on Hanamura, right? They dove the Winston that was low health, and they lost that fight because of it. Route 66, they did it 2 or 3 times. Really bad. Envyus should have defended second point. No questions asked. I don't know if that's a call. If like the shot caller's like, yeah, go for him, or if it's an individual thing and they're like, fuck, we know X is going to chase. Our whole team has to chase just to be safe. I think they do have some issues there. They also have some issues attacking as one, which is essentially all Dive Comp does. The Dive Comp just, everyone, at once. They're like, they got a little bit of a delay. It's not bad. It works against, it's going to work against most teams. It's just not going to work against the best team. And hey, you go against the best. Look at that. It doesn't fucking work. What's my PTR? What's my thoughts on the PTR balance changes? Did they? Oh, are the balance